and welcome from a not so sunny Bournemouth. I'm just meeting up with Dave Mannell, TRINITY4, and we're going to do a little bit of taking a closer look at some what we regard as buildings that are either been concealed with a lot of frontage and facading, or have been left to rot, or whatever else, but certainly building of a different age that have been constructed not in the ways that we've been taught, because that would not have been possible. So I'm going to flip the camera around because you don't want to be looking at me. There we go. And then we can take a better look at the surroundings where I find myself. So this is an area of Bournemouth called Lansdowne. This has all been newly done, so you can see on the ground here they've sort of expanded the pedestrian area. If you go down in that direction, that will take you towards the main train station of Bournemouth, and then into Boscombe, if you like. And then if you go this way, it will take you into town and into Bournemouth town centre. Now, of course, when you go through a town like Bournemouth that is mainly, well, it's a uni town, it's not an industrial town, that's for sure. They have services here, that sort of thing. It's also a bit of a seaside resort. There is quite an aged population that live here as well. And it's an area that consists of, well, three parts really. It's a council called BCP Council, which is Bournemouth, Christchurch, Poole. So three towns dotted along the south coast. Population amounts to about 500,000 people, roughly. And yeah, in this area where I am, for example, a lot of old buildings and things like that are kind of, well, the explanation is that people like Mary Shelley, who's a famous author and all that, people who came from these areas, they invested a lot of their capital to have these magnificent buildings built, right? To leave them there for the population, almost as a bit of a legacy, if you like, right? And also to help on a charitable level, blah, blah, right? I would question that all the way through that narrative. But anyway, so that is the explanation we're kind of giving in the Bournemouth sort of archives, when it talks about explaining how come some of the buildings look, kind of out of place, if you like, compared with the buildings that we've since constructed. But anyway, that's another story. I'll go into that another time. But there's Dave anyway. He's just
I was talking to
broken away from a gentleman. Yes, I heard you talking.
Man, because I was asking, I mean, Syria obviously has had all its own...
Sure.
Terror, you know, the situation there is difficult. Same as Libya.
Yeah.
And why? And yet he's wearing the bandage.
Yeah.
Slavery.
Yeah, slavery. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Right. So here we find ourselves at a place called the Old Fire Station on Lansdowne. We'll take another look at that in a minute though, because actually we're going to walk past that. We're going to look at a building on the corner. This is the one I wanted to have a look at first and foremost, because one thing that has happened here is there was a fire a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, up in there I can see it in the roof.
Yeah.
Whoa, a bit of melting on the...
Yeah. And
yeah. Wow, this building's in bad shape anyway.
It is in bad shape.
We don't look after them as well as they did when they had horse and cart, mate.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's amazing how we struggle today with technology to look after these things, isn't it? With horse cart and feeding the horses, and that's it. Wearing flip-flops. They managed to not only build these, but look after them as well. But yeah, that's... that unfortunately happened a little while back. But of course, this building itself does smack of a rather old one, doesn't it?
It is. I'm just trying to make sense of the dimensions, because this the floor above this ground floor seems very narrow, very small windows. You could say that's just the bedrooms up there, and these were some kind of more grand rooms.
There you have the ground floor there, just above the door, don't you? So you got the balcony, the little Romeo and Juliet thing going on there.
Don't notice the caduceus there, but
What does that symbol have as a, I mean, that can't have used to be a chemist. Surely I know chemists use that as a symbol, or pharmaceuticals, but...
the double serpent
yeah.
is, for me anyway, the caduceus is speaking of the Christ oil that rises in our spine, actually the 33 vertebrae of the spine.
Right, interesting number.
33, yeah. 33 vertebrae, and if you can get the serpent to rise, you will, have this alchemical process in your pineal and set off, fireworks for yourself. This is one of the things religions will frighten you from. Science has tried to usurp it, and it is still available to be found, some of this information. I guess some of it doctored under the new age, but that's what that symbolizes for me. The staff is your spine, and the wings, I suppose, would symbolize the flying, the alchemical process when the pineal, if they say it multiplies the values by 1,000 when you get the Christ oil up there.
Right.
And the total values of your chakra are 144. So 144 times 1,000 is the 144,000 that the Jehovah's and others speak of.
Right.
Perhaps. But anyway, onto this building. I mean, for me, this is an add-on facade. Is this the original brick behind that we can see? Possibly. But I'm not convinced. Anyway, this is the first view. I've been noisy here. Oh man.
Yeah. Yes, you gotta love the police. They're always in a rush to get home for lunch.
3 months in a forest at the beginning of this year, and I just so loved having none of that sound.
I know.
None of that noise.
It is pretty brutal. By the way, hi Ellie. I saw you say hello.
Hi, Ellie. Can we go around the corner?
Yeah, we'll go around the corner. I'm not
so we've got
typing.
a step and a ramp up. So obviously they've created some floor here.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see this as being the original floor.
No.
Again, it doesn't make sense to give yourself steps up. You can walk just a little up, but we'll see how the evidence bears out.
Right, exactly. Let's see where the evidence takes us. That is it, isn't it? That's the approach.
Yeah. I think we can just get over this, perhaps. Let's see if we need to. Okay, boarded up window. Good size window.
Yeah.
Possibly original. See how that's been inlaid, the serpents there.
Yes.
Oh.
Wings.
I think.
And the acorn on the top, of course.
I think, well, the pineal, the pine cone.
The pine cone, yes.
Yeah.
That's right, the pine cone.
I think that I would suggest that this is part of the 1800s occult.
Right.
This is not original.
And there's two of them there. There's one over there as well.
Yeah, there's another one there. Now, was this an original door, do you think?
I think this one on the left was.
Yeah, well, it looks very lodge-like, doesn't it?
It does, and it looks very old. May I say? I mean, there are some that are made to look old. There are some that look old. I mean, look at the window. It looks almost jail-like. It looks almost like I don't know. How can I put it? It's not very nice, is it?
Let's just pop over this little wall.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Have you told folks how long we're going to go for?
I haven't said anything about how long we're going to go for because we don't know ourselves. We'll just play it as it comes. We might not do as long as last time, but like I said, the thing that we want to look at after this might take up a bit of our time because it really is a nugget.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah,
if
sure.
If we lose the stream, that I can go live on my stream.
Yeah, no problem at all. So if I lose this stream, it will go on TRINITY4. You going on that one?
Yeah, that'll be
Okay, no problem at all.
See the water coming down here. It's
well, that for me, it just looks old.
Yeah, but don't be fooled. This is
don't be fooled, right?
You can see the crack between the two buildings there. I think this is an add-on. See those two? Quite a large crack.
Yeah.
Separating these two buildings.
And also the bricks are different, aren't they? They're different colour. One looks more worn than the other.
Yeah, and if you follow that boundary, that cement boundary, it's not being brought onto this front wall here. So it doesn't. For me, it's just looking so old because it's in a bad position. Yeah. Moisture.
The wearage and everything. Yeah.
So it also suggests that this brickwork is part of the 1800s facade. To me, that's what I have to say here. I think that's what I'm seeing. Right. Because the windows are deep in. They're not, again, they've got that proud thing with the windowsill, which often causes the rotting of these wooden sash windows that they would have had originally. Those are now plastic.
Yeah. There you have that sign there again. Two serpents.
Winged serpents.
Winged serpents with the pine cone on the top. In a circle, of course. The circle has to be of significance. They would put any old shape there. You could put anything there, couldn't you? So the circle has a meaning. It must do, it will do. And there's 2 circles as well, look at that.
Nature loves circles.
They love circles, but it is all one big cycle, isn't it?
Circles, cycles, clocks, oranges,
repetitiveness,
pumpkins.
Yeah. And of course, you look at these horrific monstrosities across the road. No comparison at all. Not even good.
But it's worth saying that when they dig these out, they will take out the original. They'll probably go down to the original basement that they can get to of whatever buildings are there. And
right. They would have left the original. Yeah, they would have left the original in because it serves as beautiful basement, doesn't it? It saves a lot of work.
No. I mean, they would have to. They will go down to that level.
Yeah.
They will, so they'll put a basement in a car park or whatever.
Yeah. But if I was to build a house, let's say, or continue with a construction and make it look a bit similar, well, you'd keep what was there beforehand anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Or whatever you could use.
Yeah. So this will be there'll be windows down here.
Absolutely, there are.
It's hard to see, I suppose, through the camera, but if you stand straight on,
you stand straight on, you might be able to just see that through there.
That's basement windows.
So you got.
They're actually, if you think about it, guys, I'm actually standing over a hole.
Yeah.
If they didn't have this grid here, I would simply fall into a hole beneath my feet about 8 foot.
Yeah, bigger than that. And there's windows there, and there's another 2 yards below those windows.
Yeah,
and I imagine that. And that floor that you're seeing there has probably been concreted to raise it up.
Yeah. So there's a whole subfloor underneath.
There's a whole subfloor, and it's brickwork underneath as well. You can see there. It's definitely brickwork.
Yeah.
And that, they go deep down. So again, we have this thing about, the levels.
And they would have to have attached that brickwork in order to attach what they've got here. So I feel like that's tack-on brickwork. It's got concrete cross member down.
It has, yeah.
So that's been done by the Victorians. So this is all going to be quite flaky.
Yeah.
This is all quite flaky.
Yeah, you wouldn't build your big monumental buildings with this.
And if you can come into this corner here, you'll see how this is not well. This is not well brought together. This is like added on to the original. This is just a stick on. All of this is stuck on.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's your facade. There's
and
the width
this is
of
how
it there.
and their hopes building these things because they can build them and go all the way up and have images and people worked on it and all that sort of thing. But
no. Continue to have a look at this one here.
have a look at there.
Right. Okay. So we have Again, we have the floor going down, reminiscent of the place we went to a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Very narrow, but very deep. And I mean, don't know if you can see there from the camera, but look at those stairs, how steep they are.
It's all manky. It's really poorly built. It's ironmongery of the 1800s, late 1800s as well. This is, and if you could get in there, you'd see clues to the original, I think, foundation, lower floor.
Bit of activity on the old streets. Sirens here and there. Yes, let's go around the back. But also what I've noticed, they just let this all happen, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks just, talk about neglect,
Yeah.
You got such a nice building here, regardless of its past, right? And then it gets treated with such disdain. And this is not a criticism of England or anything like that. You see it in a lot of countries, but I do see it a lot in the UK.
Yeah.
The scruffiness. They don't take much pride anymore in a lot of places. They're just, very happy to just leave that on a street where you're residing. I wouldn't be happy if that was on my street, looking like this. But people don't really care anymore because they're just not really that interested in the real world anymore, a lot of people. That includes their daily transactions, never mind their daily behaviours. Everything's online, everything's less and less to do with personal pride and anything like that. Just disgusting, really. But anyway,
we're working in a corporate system, and a
we
corporate
are.
system is a dead system.
It is a dead system.
So it doesn't have the same, you know, the little. I was talking to that Syrian man about, you know, the local market. People in the local market, they're not the ones creating the problems.
No. Okay, well, we did have a little look at the back, but there wasn't really. There's not really a lot we could see.
But this front bit in front where it's burnt down there that's modern, of course.
That ceiling there, we get a glimpse of the ceiling through that window, right?
Yeah.
That looks like an attic door in there.
Yeah.
That you pull down. There's probably stairs that slide down when you pull that down with a hook.
Yeah, so they would have retrofitted a staircase up into those.
That looks like plaster, doesn't it? Or something else. That's definitely not brickwork.
No,
it's definitely not stonework.
That's a modern covering. I think
That's
it's
it.
timber, like a chipboard that's covering something. Probably be some original ceiling works.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see this pot and black stuff, but it's also 1800s cover up. This cement rim on the building, you can see it's cement. You can see how poorly it's joined. It's leaking or bleeding cement down the building.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, this is all modern refurbishment, by 100-year-old refurbishment. Yeah, we can see probably evidence that, you know, these two buildings were not built. Don't think these buildings were built together. Let's see here. Yeah, they were not built together.
No, they weren't. We got this thing with the bricks again, not aligned.
So, which makes no sense, you know.
No, you'd have that aligned with here, wouldn't you? You'd have
these are different
bricks.
grade of bricks.
Yeah, totally different bricks as well.
So, you know, yeah, okay, you could say they built these two buildings at two different times.
And here we have your thing that you were talking about that we saw as well, the skirting.
Yes.
You know, you take that off and you'll find bricks underneath.
Yes.
Again, it's an attempt at deceit, isn't it? This is where the building starts.
This is the
base, and we might have a yard underneath, and that's about it, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, well, that's also a lie, one would say.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you'll be happy to know, Dave, that I got a scooter again today, because I thought, well, I'm not going to rest on my defeat of last time.
Yeah.
And this time it all cost me £2.70.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
and that's how it should have happened, just because I parked it 2 yards right of the box.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, so this is another interesting one. What I find interesting on it is the fact that you have always this play on the triangular thing at the top. You know, it looks like the painting frame, the picture frame, but it's that dome underneath all the time, right? It's that kind of thing that isn't. We don't build stuff like that. We don't build dome windows. We don't build dome doors. We don't. Or arch shapes, right?
When I was in Lettenhall, the guy who was replacing all the old windows, he said, wow, is this so hard for us to do nowadays? You know, how they did it, how they bent these wooden frames is really hard for us to achieve now.
Right.
And he wasn't, of course, in on it, as it were. He was just, you know, that's what we're told, and they had skills, but we don't think about it, we don't connect it all together. But look how narrow the spacing is between the outside of the window frame and the wall. There's not that much covering, but you can see that it's like a cement, that they've covered that arch over and recessed it a bit. But, you know, typically you'd find windows should be more flush with the building than we find them. So these bricks, I would suggest, have been put on the front of the original building.
Yeah.
And we could probably find evidence of that if we look closely enough.
And then if we go down the building, of course, again, the same thing as next door. You have your skirting, which if you took that away, it would just reveal the bricks behind it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting nevertheless, although so different to the one next to it.
Yeah.
Right, so you've got three next to each other. You've got this one there, bit of a temple look to the front of that. I mean, it's still very grandiose. If that's an add-on, it's one heck of a grandiose add-on, isn't it, Dave? When you think about it, with the pillars and then all that stuff on the top that we keep talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how did they go to such lengths?
Right. I mean, if you're going to put a facade on the front of the building, or did they
really struggle? But they were pouring concrete. This is what we're not. They had form and they could pour.
Right.
We're not told that about that time.
No. Well, clearly they could, because we know that's built before the time that we're told, right? Well,
the original structure. What sits behind that? Because, you know, again, you would not. you would not go to all that trouble and then put these hodgepodge little roofs on, things up in the ceiling. I can assure you, to get up into that ceiling, into the loft apartments, will be like, oh, it's a bit of a narrow staircase here. It's really poorly thought out. Surprise, because it has been an add-on. So the original people who were were building these big houses. But yeah, how did they do it? I mean, how did they form all of that concrete?
Yeah.
How did they?
What equipment did they use? Where did they do it?
Yeah.
Who did it? I mean, not everybody could simply pour concrete. I mean, it's just so much involved in it all. Like we were talking about the logistics, mate. Just that alone is mind-boggling.
Magical.
It is. It really is. But we'll keep the camera focused on this side of the road, because on the other side it's just buildings like that. It's of no interest at all. Unless we could get below ground, then it would be perhaps very interesting. But here's the other one. Here's the old fire station. It's going to be the thumbnail. I mean, again, there is facading on here, right? Because you can see the difference in the colour of the bricks below and the ones above. But they've maintained that white, red thing that they've got in the original structure at the top there.
Yeah.
So the white brick, I'm presuming, works as a blocker. If the red brick was used as a conductor or whatever, there'd be a reason why they alternate the colours. I'm not an expert in it, so I wouldn't know for sure. But it's still an extravagant facade, though. It really is.
And
Look,
it's a fire station.
And it's a fire station. Well, it's an old pub actually. It's a gig venue, but yeah.
But again, all of these big buildings are given to the authority figures, like the system figures.
Right.
The churches, the government and local government officialdom.
Yeah.
To sort of manage them and ensure that they have a budget to keep them at a certain level. But yeah, those budgets are being stretched, and that's why you're seeing these buildings fall into disrepair now. We can't maintain them.
We can't maintain them.
Where's the camera?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot to wave. Well, that's all right. If we can film, they can film. I said that to the lady who tried to usher me out of the shopping centre in Boscombe when the lockdown first kicked in 2020, because she watched me filming, and she was trying to sort of, you can't film in here. I said, why? Because there's a lockdown, you can't film, but when the shops are open, you can walk around and have your video camera on. Your phone, whatever. And yet, when you go in there, everybody's okay with a camera pointing at you every corner.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to bother anybody.
Yeah, well, that's right.
It's funny, that, isn't it?
Officialdom.
Again, It's got a badge and a label.
Yeah. Take a little looky over these. These are always very fascinating.
Yeah. Now, in Germany, these would be classed as what they would call merchant houses, right? Yeah. Now, my mum, for example, comes from a town called Hereford, and they have a lot of these. On the gables, they'll have just a couple of bricks thickness worth of wall nicely decorated on the front, just like here. But they won't actually be space attached. It's just like a front. Here, they've actually got roofing attached to those fronts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's much more of a substantial building.
Yeah.
All brickwork, of course.
So you're saying that there's just facades left in some places?
In a lot of places, yeah. They just leave the front on, and the rest of the building has been changed, or they were built like that with just the facade on the front. We see that in Germany a lot anyway.
They would say that these were damaged by bombs in the Second World War and then needed to be repaired, the facade saved, and so it was saved and so on.
Right.
And of course there has to be some truth in that. I think that some of the bombing might have been very cleverly targeted by people knowing where they wanted to remove certain history.
Yes, absolutely.
Certain structures. So that is absolutely possible, but there's so much of it. Well, maybe I don't understand how much of the bombing actually really destroyed those buildings, but I'm also wondering whether there wasn't again something that came from above that removed a lot of put a lot of weight on the roofs, and then they lost them like that.
Right.
Like the snowfall. If you get too much weight on a pitched roof that isn't steep enough, it will break in.
Right. Yeah, it will break in. So yeah, all bricks, of course.
Yeah.
Like we've said.
Yeah.
So again, if these are to be dated around, we have to look at the timeline. So if these are all dated around the late 1800s, which I'm presuming they will be, early 1900s perhaps, so we're talking 1880, 1890. No, don't forget, brick manufacturing didn't happen till 1885. They made their bricks on site. So that's what we're told.
Another interesting thing to note is that this whole section is built in is covered by one,
That's right.
one brick layer
that's
gone all the way across.
Yeah, it's all
the
one
way
big.
across there. So that's done in one job. That assumes that somebody built this one building all as one job.
And that bit in the middle there, that's the centre part there, Dave, right? So you got the same amount left as you have right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these either side of it.
Wow.
So it's actually one building when you take the frontage off the bottom shops. That there, from that grey one there all the way across, that is all one building. Up until where that dome is. No, two gables in. Yeah. 2 gables before the dome. That's where it ends. So all the ones with the little ball on the top, they're all one building.
They were all faced by one bricky. So
because you can see on the bricks there where that beige building, the red brick one, for example, meet. You can see it's the same bricks. They've just painted it. That's all. Here, where the ball is, you can see they're the same bricks. The bricks angled in and the bricks facing this way as well. So it's the same building, right?
Look at that window up there. It's one of the originals, I think.
Yeah.
From the 1800s.
Yeah.
And you can see how the brick. If you look at the space between the brick and the window frame, that's definitely that's an add-on.
Right, because that's not the right. So you'd have one bit of brick there, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be twinkering it together,
Oh man,
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, that's one big building. They built all that. That's all one big, Because I could imagine that these bay windows didn't exist, right?
Oh yeah, they've knocked those in.
You can see there the brickwork goes. The brickwork goes underneath the bay windows.
They are the same, but
they're the same afterwards.
They're a later addition.
Right, they're a later addition.
They've taken out the double windows that might have been there if the above sections to be taken as a real form, and then they've turned it into a bay.
But I mean, they could have been anything. If you look at the entrance to the fire station, they might have been entrances. They could have been entrances, or God knows what this building or whatever was ever used for back in the day. Who knows? Because we have to imagine dominoes and all this. That's all not here, right?
Well, this is first floor. I think Domino's would have been first floor, and the ground floor is beneath our feet.
Yeah.
So that's probably second story, and then possibly a third story. But now we've gone to a fourth story, I think, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could have been big windows, single windows, but equally they could have just gone, we'll knock the whole thing out and create a bay.
Right.
But I think that's an 1800s edition. That's not original, of course.
No.
Of course. These ones will be similar across the road, I think.
Let's have a look.
It's kind of vintage add-on balcony. I mean, even that recessing again. I think the recessing, the brickwork is poor. This brick's coming out of the wall. That's a facade that's been put on the original, and the roof will be new, and so those roof boxes up there.
Right.
What do they call them, dormers?
Right. But those windows, Dave, that you see left and right of the bay windows, that you see with the white around the edges, would you say they're original?
No,
that's all facade.
That's all facade.
Right.
That's all the concrete work.
Right.
That's all facade.
So how about the building then? When we take that and move along to where TSB Bank is, which is just about still here, what about that? Is that just facading?
Well, let's first notice on the middle floor, we've always got that dome and pyramid. I got to thank Lee from Flat Earth British for pointing that out to me for the first time 4 or 5 years ago. That's might be 5. It must be 4 years ago. That's worth pointing out, and that's always a symbol that I think of this system.
Right. Circle, square, and all that. And the dome and the
circle and square. The dome, firmament, and the square earth. I think that possibly the plane we're on is like a rugby field or a soccer field kind of thing, but the roof is round. That's where I disagree with most flat earthers who say that the earth is a round thing. I'm not sure that it is.
No, I'm not. What do you mean round, as in from above it looks circular?
Well, I think when you look down,
I don't think we can possibly know that.
We have a circle of view, a circle of vision. So whenever you go above something, you have a circle that's going to extend 100 miles in each direction, all around you like a circle.
Yeah. Well, it is. You're going to have, if you've got a limit to your vision and you go around 360 degrees around your own axis, that's your distance of vision in every direction.
Yeah, it's like casting a string.
Well, of course, exactly.
Miles or 10 miles.
Or using a compass to draw a circle. It's going to stay that radius, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course it is. It's very logical.
So we have a circle of sight.
Right.
I think it's important to say that. But in quantum physics, you know, there has to be a square. You end up with squares and circles. You can't have one without the other. And actually, if you spin a square, I want to see this one. Yeah. If you spin a square fast enough, you get a circle. So you know, at the fractal level, when they admit in physics that everything's spinning, everything's moving all the time. If you spin it fast enough, you can create a circle from a square.
Yeah.
Simple.
Right, this is really what I wanted to look at.
Oh, this is the big...
I've been in here, I spent a year in here, not literally a year, I wasn't in jail there or anything, but I went to college there, I did like some stuff, but I wasn't seeing things like I do today. This is like 6 years ago, right? Yeah. But this is a phenomenal building. I mean, that tower is so reminiscent of the one in Venice, for example, or many other places. Same colour. All right, the shape at the top is a bit different, but it's the same structure. It's the same sort of the red and white. And this is Bournemouth College. That's what it's used for. But look at ground level. Look at that. Or what
you mean, that window, that door there?
Yeah, for example. I mean, it goes well further. And when we go across the road, we can see how far deep down that building goes. It's astonishing.
Yeah.
It really is astonishing. And yet when you're inside the building, the ceilings are actually quite low and everything.
Okay.
So it's clear that they've obviously done some work in there.
Yeah, altered the floor height. So have you been into that floor?
Yeah, I've been into that floor.
Quite a high ceiling.
That is, and they've got a lot of computer rooms in there and stuff.
Downstairs they might have lower floors, I suspect.
The corridors, when you go inside and you walk around it, be careful here because we'll end up getting run over by a horse and cart. Can you imagine that? Hey?
So down off the bank.
But there, we're on the pathway. This is a bank to go down.
I'll step down here.
Yeah, we'll step down here. And then you can see from here already that, of course, that goes down far, far deeper. I mean, you've got drainage here. That goes down deeper. So if you took these slabs up and dug that earth up beneath the slabs, then you would, of course, reveal much more brickwork further back or further down. And these are the computer rooms.
It seems like the
can't really see it. You can see.
It seems like the floor is slightly higher in here. Than the ground building.
Yes. Yes. It's an astounding looking building. It seems, you know, it seems a lot of work. I mean, one thing I've noticed here on the pillars, for example, Dave, compared to the old fire station, this is not made of sections. This is one big section. That you don't see any horizontal thin lines across it, right? On the fire station, they were sections, so you can tell they could have retrofitted that, right?
This is still a retrofit, I'm pretty sure of that.
But it's their sections, aren't they? So they must have obviously formed that somewhere.
Yeah, this is a single core.
Yeah, it's a single core.
I mean, it's 2 meters tall, maybe 2 and a bit.
Oh,
so it's no, because the section beneath it may not be. It may not be, you know, those straights. They may be, you know, cutting the line. So you don't think that. You think it's one pillar going through that concrete. No.
But that there was all. Take the window away. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Right. Take that window away, and that's an open space behind those pillars. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's just wooden framing. There's no brickage there, is there?
Yeah.
Right, so that is a space that's either been added on to the front, but then, and this as well, and that as well?
Well, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at that, there's a great example of it. You see, these pillars are actually covering windows.
Yeah.
There's windows behind the pillars. I mean, that doesn't add up at all. You wouldn't make those beautiful windows and put pillars in.
So what are the windows? So they put the windows in afterwards?
The windows are part of the Victorian addition.
Right.
Along with these pillars that this whole brick section that those pillars are holding up, facade.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's all facade. The original building is deep beneath this one. They've really gone quite heavy on the façadery here.
They have. Well, it's in a very prominent part of town as well, isn't it?
But why though? Why go to so much trouble?
Right.
Why not leave the original building?
Why not just be honest in the history books?
I can't make sense of that.
That's the bit that I don't get. What is it they're hiding? right? This is the bigger question, Dave, that we talked about on the Global Eye Tour and stuff, right? I was often asked that, well, why would they lie about it? You know, and a lot of people have spoken about that, and you know, we've all philosophized and thrown in our theories and stuff, but even here, I mean, the bricks are already different. So so that's facade, fine, but this, right, that comes further out than the facade, but you can see the bricks are different. They're in worse shape. They're certainly older than the ones to your left. You can tell. Right, so there's your bricks to your left on the facade that Dave was talking about. Here, you can see it quite clearly, quite nice and neat. And then you go over here and look at the brickwork here, and that, of course, is more aged.
Have a look at this.
Right.
In here,
oh yeah,
these are not made by the same hand.
Well, look at that.
In fact, I'm going to suggest that there was possibly skirt here that's come off.
Right.
Of this, because it seems, no, maybe the stripe is right. This stripe might be
maybe
right.
That's right, because that's reminiscent of the red and white that we're seeing here behind you, for example.
But the way this joins in here is not right. All the way up, you can see they're not the same building.
They're different. So they've added this. So what they've done is they've put this here.
And look at that.
Yeah.
In there. That's two different buildings.
Yeah.
And so this here, this is part of the facade again to create a new entranceway. This, as old as it looks, I think is a weather thing.
Yeah.
I think this is
Couldn't even see anything in there.
well, I'm gonna have to think again on this. I'm not sure.
Well, look at that there. There's an arch in there. You can't see it, but to your left, you've got an arch right in front of us, and then you've got an arch to the left that's going towards. If you go around here, Dave, I'll show you what I mean. And there's a gate in the way. So we look at this. This is the bit that is concealed by the ground. So we're on like almost the podest. What I'm stood on, which is the road height. Right, this is the side entrance we've just had, so we're looking at it from that's where we were, to the left there. We were looking in this way. Now we've got this view here, and look at that underneath in there,
the original building entrance there.
Right, the original building entrance, poignantly enough, not being used.
But originally, when the Victorians reclaimed this, they probably used this as the entrance, which is why there's a staircase being cemented in down here. Right. All of this it's been made with the same look to create it look like it's original. Yeah, but this is all facade.
Look at this here. This is a lot of wear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? What did that used to be? What were they depicting? Because they surely didn't build them like that originally. You know, there seems to be a lot of erosion taking place here.
A lot of erosion.
Yeah.
Because it's a port. This is poured.
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's a facade, it's made of lesser material, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Hence the erosion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the pitting, look at it.
Yeah. Just look at that. We were saying that on the last stream, that when Dave was rubbing against some of the plaster, like here, for example, you can see where it's come away on the corners.
Yeah.
And that's just a bit of wear, right? Yet, when they see the magnificence of those buildings that are made of kind of other materials, you know, nothing's crumbling away, you know. Hi guys, sorry, we're just looking at the building, is that all right? Cool. So,
all of this is fake.
Right, that's facading.
Yeah, this is creating a new doorway.
Yeah.
There once was a window.
But then, the tower is attached to the facade.
Yeah.
So we're saying the tower is part of that facade as well.
I think that the tower is hiding something else.
Right.
Either that or they added the tower, but for the reasons we think. But I think the tower is hiding something else. Now that's what I think. I don't know, of course. But this looks like concrete formwork. It looks so clean. This is never chiseled. This was never shaped by a man with a chisel.
Right. Right. That's the point, isn't it? It's not shaped by a man with a chisel. I mean, it looks just too perfect. It looks preformed.
There's no chisel marks.
No.
You know, it's
just literally preformed, isn't it? Slabbed.
Yeah.
Put there. You can see there the cuts as well.
And that's why it falls apart like it does.
You can see the cuts.
at that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example of what we mean, right? That is breaking away. If you were to build buildings of prominence today, you wouldn't really be making them out of this material in terms of, you know, from a structural point of view. Yes, for facading it would serve a purpose, which it clearly does here as well. And from a distance you wouldn't even notice that, of course. Like a crappy painting, you stand far enough away, it will always look good. But anyway, yeah, so this is Bournemouth College. There's a lot of mystery to this building because, like, you know, it gives the impression of old world, of course it does. I'll have a look at this sign, what it says here. This stone was laid by Alderman G.E. Bridge in 1910. So, 6th of October 1910. Right, Dave, there's a plaque on the wall to tell us who laid the stone and what year.
Oh, what, 1910?
Yeah. So as you can see, although there is clearly facading going on in this building, there is also original, what we think is original, that looks very similar, but you can just tell by the difference in the bricks in terms of the colour and yeah, the quality of them or whatever, that different bricks have been used, you know. And as we said, the erosion here is very clear to see. I mean, look at that. Right. What, from the English rain? You've got to be kidding me. They didn't realise it rains in this country when they built this? Anyway, so that I find very interesting. Dave, should we go around this corner?
Yeah, you want to catch a bit of that?
Well, I will actually while we're at it, just so that people don't understand the truth. Here we go. Yep, I think we should use that as an intro.
Checkmate.
Image. Yeah. So here we go. So we're going around the side of the building. Now from this side here, you can almost see the contrast between that bit there, that I have to say, that it looks old, but then that's confusing me. That whole thing there on the top.
Well, I've got a feeling because I'm pretty certain that this is an add-on here, this bit.
Yeah.
I think that they used the windows and the form from the places where they made doors. So they took out windows that they had in some place else. They were older bricks, perhaps even, and they stuck them in here as part of this. That's my.
So are we saying that this thing here maybe served as a retaining wall as well?
Yeah, that's the thing.
You see here, you can see the bricks there. They look far newer, don't they?
Yeah, they've not been weathered.
No, not as much. Yeah, it's on the front of the building where it's getting all the weather.
Well, it depends, hey, because that's in that corner. Like, it depends on.
I suppose so.
I haven't tracked the sun yet.
Well, this one here is not wearing much.
Weathered up there, right? On the tower, there's a lot of pitting in those bricks.
There is.
And that's receiving a lot more weather, I guess. More of that noise. Bloody hell, man. I tell you what, this is a form of psychological warfare. Make people
keep them on their edge, go on their toes.
Yeah.
So we're saying that that's all add-ons, then we're talking of a very extravagant nature, aren't we? So again, look, we've got the singular units that haven't been cut up into sections. They've been moulded, formed and put there, but they've attached it to whatever it is they're hiding.
Yeah, I think that whole colonnade is an add-on. The original windows possibly sit behind that, but that whole balcony is an add-on, which extends the downstairs here. Because remember, when you lose your original downstairs, the ground floor is normally the grandest floor, the best floor. That's got the biggest rooms and that kind of thing. And so when you lose that and you're forced to move into the bedrooms, which were upstairs, you have to move a lot of things around to create more room in order to have the same grandness that you once would have had if that was the original ground floor.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet, look at the bricks. They are going down, aren't they? They are. Well, they'll always need a foundation of some sort, won't they?
Yeah, and you so often see like the concrete barricade around it. That's covering a whole lot of sins in there. So yeah, this is coverage. Oh look, yeah, this is must be add-on.
There we go. Yeah.
You know, this doesn't add up.
This doesn't add up. And then look how bad that is.
Yeah.
Look how bad that is.
Yeah. Oh, look at this guy. That's this guy coming across the bush. In the camo gear.
Yeah.
They're not doing some kind of drill, are they?
Well,
it could be crisis actors.
I was going to say there could be crisis actors. So what we doing? Expecting an explosion somewhere anytime soon? We just heard some sirens.
A lot of sirens.
Yeah, a lot of sirens. Now we've got people walking past in strange-looking costumes. One of them dressed as a jungle marksman or sniper, I should say, that would suddenly pop up from next to his.
Snipers who apparently tell us I've been on Facebook again. And someone tells me about Coriolis Force and snipers and all that sort of thing. And I had to say to the guy, listen, my friend, I had a 90mm cannon. I went to war with it, and I could shoot over a mile range. And if Coriolis was a force and a factor, I would have known about it because my life and my crew's life depended on it.
Right.
So no, Coriolis.
So none of your crew said, "Hey, Dave, mate, can you aim a little bit further left because you're kind of not taking into consideration that we're spinning."
Well, not only that, we're actually our direction. If we're northwest, east, or south, will have a bearing on this amazing force.
Yeah.
And so if you're in battle, you need to be absolutely
You need to know whether you're north or northwest, my friend.
Yes. Otherwise, and then we've got to make an allowance for that.
You do. You do have to make an allowance for that.
But we didn't.
Well, no.
We only allowed for wind, maybe atmosphere, but really wind and height. These are the factors. And I'm considering the range.
So look at that, that's a nice view, isn't it? Look, we've got the green lawns of England, and then we got, what would they call this in the history books? Roman, this building? What's it supposed to be? I've not even checked it up.
Roman.
What is this supposed to be? What's the art, the style? Is that Renaissance?
Well, if they're calling it 1910,
Baroque?
If they're calling it 1910.
That part of the building, yeah. That stone was laid, but I mean, I'm sure there must have been some of the, I'm going to have to look it up. I never really checked it up, so that's my fault. I should have really maybe done a bit of research, but I'm trying to avoid the official dumb and just approach it with my own eyes and not have that information in the background.
Did you notice the 1910 on the...
I noticed that, this stone...
On the floor tiles.
No, I didn't notice that.
On the floor tiles upstairs, when we went upstairs, by the front door, they put 1910. So I think that's when the new facade was, or at least that new doorway was added, because someone was originally using the doorway below.
Right.
I think that was, so that's why I said yesterday, I think, that there might have been 2 stages of process that covered these up. There was original people who came back, used the mud flooded downstairs, and then later, maybe 30 years later, they did the refurb to move into the new upstairs in 1910. So that's, it fits with that 1880 period.
Yeah, 1880 period, which of course is before the mass production of bricks, Dave.
So I would suggest to you that this section down here is done in the 1880 period.
Yeah. And again, it's not a huge section, is it? I mean,
sorry. My apologies. I mean, they've got this downstairs. So in the 1910 refit, they come back and they move what there was still around, and they create this new entrance upstairs.
Yeah.
But then that suggests even that this concrete work, which you can see the crack there, it's not very good. The concrete work here, which is the facade, was done possibly then too. Possibly 1910 too.
Yeah.
That's why they send us to war, because then everybody gets their lives disturbed.
Absolutely.
And you don't get an education for some years, and when the children do come back, they get this new education.
Yeah.
And Grandpappy says, no, that's not what I remember, but he's like a flat earther, No one wants to listen to him because they've been so well indoctrinated.
I was saying this last night in a conversation I had with Ellie, that another side effect of World War II, for example, was the mass repopulation of millions and millions of people. Like my German granddad comes from a place that straight after the war became Poland.
Yeah.
So when he was enrolled in the German army at the age of 19, what saved him from going to the Russian front was the fact that he had a driver's license. So they enrolled him into a mechanized brigade. And he ended up in Ukraine. He ended up getting captured by the Irish Guards and spent his time in Rimini in northern Italy, right? It's a long story. But the point I'm making is, when the war was over, he had no home to go back to. That country had then been taken. It was now Poland. So he ended up in what we called West Germany afterwards, where he met my nan later on. But the point I'm making is, a lot of these people never went back home to be able to re-verify what's happened to their areas.
Yes.
They're suddenly in an area they've never been before, and so it's all your new home, and you don't know any historical background, and you'll just buy what you're told, won't you? Because you've been busy not getting killed.
Yeah, and I think in this country, it may have happened in other countries. I think they use prisoners of war who couldn't speak the language to come and do works, so-called restorative works on buildings that had been damaged.
Right.
And that went on for quite a few years, I think. So this kind of thing could have been covered up by foreign soldiers.
Yeah, easily done. People who don't speak the lingo, don't read the signs, whatever, can't understand it.
Yeah. Even over the road there.
So here's the roundhouse, which of course looks a little bit like the cycloramas I was mentioning, Dave.
There's one in Bournemouth town. Yeah, they call it the cyclorama.
Well, have you looked at the pavilion? When you take the facade of the pavilion away, there's that building behind it, the main part of the pavilion, right? And it's a huge building because it goes right down, because it's right on the top of the cliff.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I walked past it a couple of days ago. I thought, I feel like doing a video now, but I was on my way back from you and we just done one. So, but there we go. So that is anyway. Just to recap on this, that's Bournemouth College. So there's a lot going on in that building. But one thing is for sure, it is purely, mainly bricks.
Can I point out?
Yeah, sure, you can. Of course.
See that balcony there on that upper floor?
Yeah.
It's really covering those beautiful windows that are sitting behind it again,
Yeah.
The designer of this would have had a flat building, not with that big flat rain catcher on top here.
Right.
So, yeah, again, that's all of that is, it's incredible to say, but all of that, I believe, is not the original building.
So then the question is begged, isn't it? Why go to that amount of trouble? But it's clearly there's a lot of erosion on it. So the quality of that building is not as good.
What
you can tell that.
resources at your disposal?
What was yeah. Absolutely. So again, it's where the evidence leads you. It's not what you want to know as an answer, isn't it? I think that's the name of the game in all that we do, isn't it? We want to seek where it takes us and not what we hope to find, right? But anyway, oh look, the sun is coming out. That's a funny saying, that, isn't it? The sun is coming out
tomorrow.
Like it's never out. It just pops out.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then we'll turn around.
The hodgepodge as well. Downstairs, below street level, you've got windows.
Yeah.
The front door on the corner here is sort of vaulted up. A number of steps, actually. Look, about 8 steps. Maybe 10.
Yeah.
In order to get to the new, or what would have been a first floor, perhaps a second floor of the original build. Let's go and have a little peek around that, shall we?
Let's do that. I'm just checking a little bit on the chat just to see if there's anyone else. I'll just say a quick hello to those who are watching. Hi Ellie. Hi, no comment. I think I saw someone else in there earlier. I'm not too sure. And if I've missed you, oh, Mighty Atom, of course. Hi, Atom. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
I always want to call him. I'm not sure his name.
You're sorry?
I forget his name all the time. I think it's Dean, but
Well, you don't know him as Mr. Atom. I like to call him Mr. Atom. He doesn't like to be called by his surname, Dave. You know what I mean? So Mr. Atom it is. I don't. I was going to call him Atomic Kitten, but you didn't like that. So, or he wouldn't like that. I don't think so. Maybe he's a good singer, or maybe he's got the legs for it. Who knows? But just kidding, mate. Just kidding. If you're still listening. So here we go. This is a building on the other side of the road. Again, the first thing that stands out is that whether it's facade or not, it's just there's a lot of
and a great big retaining wall.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's a lot of downward tendencies in all of these places.
Those windows are right at the sort of ground level.
Yeah, it's not where you'd have a window, is it?
So the floor level of that house is lower than the ground level where the bicycle is standing.
Right, absolutely. That they filled in.
Or they didn't dig it out. any deeper.
Or they didn't.
They filled it in, but they didn't dig any deeper, because wherever they dig, they've got to put a retaining wall down.
So is this retaining wall perhaps even part of an old star fort?
No.
No. Okay.
No. This is just a concrete.
You think that doesn't go any further? Doesn't go down?
Through this. I think they probably did both buildings.
Yeah,
These
let's
are
have
two
a look.
different buildings, but they
Jesus.
done them both.
The only bit of metal lying on the floor, and I nearly trip over it. That would have been hilarious. Yeah.
This is hollow.
Yeah, this is hollow. They've just put wooden.
Okay, so I think it's slightly different retaining wall, but again the same logistical and engineering nightmare.
Same idea. And
that's the gangplank to get up to the new door.
The new ground level that is actually probably above. What,
I'd say it was got to be at least
sorry.
one, but as you can see, but there could be more below that. It's got to be in the realm of scope of possibility.
Yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
fall in the hole.
No, I'll try not to.
Oh, so there you go.
Right, look at that. So here we can see it.
There was a second floor.
Yeah.
Underground.
There we have it. There's the window revealing itself below those windows that we're told are the ground floor windows. There's the giveaway. And of course, if it goes down there a little bit, it probably goes down further, because there's another window that apparently is touching the ground. Of course, you wouldn't build a window like that. See where the shadow is? Dave's shadow right at the bottom there. Well, that ground will go even further forward.
Yeah, and
down. I mean.
Yeah, and to the right of this here, this area, what would you do? You not form a window downstairs next to it. You just leave the ground here,
right,
and have a huge retaining wall and just rise the building up again by one floor.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
That's ridiculous.
Doesn't make sense at all.
The rain is gathering and going into that window.
Yeah.
On a stormy night, that water is ingressing that window.
Yeah.
That's 2 stories below our ground floor, which was the original, I would say now the second floor of this building. The ground floor now.
Yeah. Oops, my finger again. Excuse my finger disappearing or going over the lens every now and then. Right, here's something that I was asking Dave as well. And that was these pillars. They always seem to like to use these. Right? You see them a lot. Different sizes, different diameters, but you see them used a lot.
The cast marble.
It's marble, yeah.
Some kind of cast marble. Glue and something else.
Let's look underneath. You want, mate?
You got the window down there.
Yeah, right. Look at that. Where everyone dumps their cans, but yeah, disgusting. But anyway, yes, there we see it again, bricked up.
Yeah, this is a long way up.
That is quite a long way up.
Floor.
And the thing that always, of course, fascinates me are these cylindrical shaped corners that these buildings have. What is the significance of that? I know there's theories. What did it say on it? 1891.
So they...
Completion, is it? Yeah, it must be
1891.
Completion. 1891.
That's when the cover-up was done.
That's when the cover-up was done, yeah. So they've added Victorian stuff. That looks like you could cast that and slot it in, right?
Yeah.
So that's no big deal. It's not made out of the rock, is it? Like the original people would have done. So that's cast, slotted into place. There you have your date, 1891. So within 6 years of mass production of bricks, they've knocked this up as well. Yeah. Different colour one this time, so to make the quarrying of such bricks even more tricky.
Yeah.
Right? Because they'd have to find a stream with this. Unless they knew how to treat different types of bricks back then, when they were just inventing the mass production of it.
Yeah.
Doubt it. So, but now it's a pizza place. Or was it originally a pizza place? Maybe the pizza came from Bournemouth, Dave.
I'm starting to wonder whether this building here,
right,
or this part of the building and this sconce here aren't done at separate times. The stones look slightly less weathered for me here.
Yes, on there than they do on here.
Yeah,
I agree.
And again, they've gone for a different window shape. I think even though, they've gone for a different window shape than there is over on this side.
Yeah.
Which doesn't add up. The bricks aren't lining up. So I think that was added on later when they realized again. So this offers the idea that there was an original fit and then perhaps a later fit where they cut out some of this and created this new doorway here.
Yeah.
But covered, either they decided to cut off the corner wholesale and just put on a new rounded corner.
Right.
Or that was originally here, and I sometimes wonder they do like the round because we know that Tauruses are round. The toroidal energy is circular. The African round huts are much more energetically suitable than the square box. They call the corners they trap sorrows, corners of sorrows. So we think that they were using corners for they were using circles to move energy.
Yeah.
So that would fit with that idea. So was that tagged on later? That's a question that you could answer if you were able to get inside.
Yeah.
But it suggests this 1891. This could have been put on afterwards, but I would suggest perhaps that is when this was done.
When it was restored or whatever.
When it was.
Because don't forget, it was also around about before the time people had access to photography, all that. So let's say the necessity for photographic evidence of construction wasn't really called for by the public.
No, but the evidence is that in that period, 1880 to 1910.
Yeah.
There is so much construction happening.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, whoa, even with the people we have today and the technology we have today, that would be a staggering amount of construction.
With less population.
On this scale, we build these little boxes and cranes, put steel beams and then panels and so on. It's not bricks and bricks and bricks and bricks and bricks.
No.
Huge dugout foundings that have to be removed, by the way. All that dirt has to be removed. All these bracings, all these founding walls that we see down here, all of this stuff down here, which is retaining wall, has to be built in advance, has to be dug in advance and secured in advance.
Yep.
Not only that, when you're trying to build inside of a ditch, you need a bit more space than the actual building. And here often you see very little space for them to construct and put bricks and lay bricks against mud walls and so on. No, you've got to create a lot of space, retain a lot of space, create a swimming pool, essentially, and then build out of that swimming pool that the water can't get in, the weather's not going to get in down there. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And when you talk about it like that and add it all up like that, and that's just touching the surface, then it's like, and even when you look at the lay of the land in Bournemouth, like where we are right now, it goes up there. Obviously, there's the clock tower on Bournemouth College, like we said. Sun's come out now, so you can see it a bit nicer as well. The colours. Don't forget, we introduced red brick in this country, according to the history books, so that they're easier to see in the fog, Dave. Right? Anyway, so if we go down here, this road goes all the way downhill. This is a constant gradient now, all the way down to essentially the stream in Upper Gardens, if you like.
Well, we can live on hills. That's
right. We can.
That's not in doubt.
We can build on hills. We can dig into the sides of hills. We have done. Yeah. Should we go over there?
Let's have a look at the walkway into that.
Should we check out the entrance floor to the?
Yeah.
This used to be O'Neill's pub. It still is.
Well, that could be a modern thing there, but it could also be a bit of a sign.
Could be. Could be. Would you use black and white checkered floor to?
Well, people, I painted my bedroom when I was about 15. I painted my bedroom wall chessboard because chess. I think that musical was very popular.
Very popular, and they also enjoyed playing it.
Oh, that yes.
So. Yeah, no problem. Dave's just going to chalk the floor a little bit. Right, so here is the other side of that building that we literally just looked at. Okay, so I just missed that, so I'll go back a second. So where you got the hot dogs and burger place down there. So that's the other side of this building. And as you can see, it's a bit more shade here. I don't know if you can see that okay. But again, there you've got those. They appear rusty colour red here, and they're casts that have been slotted into the side of the building there. So they've removed bricks, put those in, which of course that would have been a doddle once you had the technology, of course, to do it. and they would have slotted them in. And of course the officialdom on this building is 1910 completion of 1910, of course, right? And this is the thing. So when you think that all that is made of bricks, different color bricks this time as well, and we know that that building goes way deep into the ground. We know that because the buildings around here do, because we have evidence of it on the previous live stream from a couple of days ago. So you're talking a massive amount of bricks required. A massive amount of bricks. So when you think about the logistics, even in today's money, what that would mean, and think about how that would have been then in the 1800s when we didn't have cars. Yes, there may have been the odd rail track, but we didn't have a rail network. You know, since when did we have millions of steam engines suddenly within a few months? That didn't happen. Yes, things were invented in the 1800s, but they weren't all up and running, ready to go. You know, so don't be fooled by the dates. You know, do not be fooled by the dates. Right? If you fall off a ladder and you break your neck and that's how you die, that's how you die. Not because you were tested for something. Right? Stick to the facts. And the facts are that they did not have the materials, the manpower, the resources, the infrastructure, the logistics, anything of that sort to enable them to build constructions like this all around about the same period, in the same area, in a population far smaller than today, like we are told. Impossible. It's obviously not impossible to do, but what we're given as an explanation is impossible. That is the point. So clearly they're obviously possible to build because they're here. I'm stating the obvious there, so I do apologise. Anyway, I'm going to go and find Dave now. He's chalked the floor and he's probably looking for me. So let's see where he is. As he walked down the road. Ah, there he is. Okay. Beautiful day today. Not too busy today, so that's good. I mean, in town, not too much hustle and bustle. Yeah, Bournemouth's quite a nice place. It's all right, but like I said, it looks sometimes a bit too scruffy, a bit too run down. You know, the more you look, there are some gorgeous buildings around here that could do much more with. They really could. So, and I'm just stopping to look at things like this while Dave's having a quick chat there. So you've got these doorways. Now you have, for example, if you go to towns like Salisbury or whatever, and you probably have them in lots and lots of other cities and towns throughout the UK, you have these so-called taverns, right? Pubs, inns, whatever you want to call it, right? And a lot of these taverns, like the Coach and Horses is a famous name, isn't it, for like a tavern over here. And they tell us, of course, that these arches were built so that you can get the height of the carriages in, because of all the bales of hay they had to carry with them, of course, to feed the horses, so it could even go trotty-wotty and take you through the country on no roads. But that's what allegedly these things were built for. And then the horses and the carriages would go into the courtyard, they'd park up, and lady and lord, whoever, would get out, and their servants would take all their luggage into the tavern, and then the horses would be taken round the back, and they would be fed, etc. That's kind of the storylines were given to explain these entrances here, right? You have them a lot. So if you go to a lot of historical towns where they've kept a lot of the history, places like Chester, places like York, you see a lot of these arches. A lot of them. And of course they'll attribute that to the Romans, won't they? Or whatever. Because the Romans were amazing, you know? They walked around wearing flip-flops and bronze skirts, and yet they could build the A1. Quite incredible. Yeah, so if we come out of this courtyard here, we have again evidence of what Dave was talking about, the retaining wall thing. But again, this here, this construction here, it's all bricks, right? All bricks. Just trying to look to see what's hidden behind that. And concrete. Interesting. But that looks old. Very, very old. Look at that. Wouldn't mind leaning over there and grabbing one of those bricks. That'd be just my luck, wouldn't it? I'd grab a brick and then the whole bloody thing would collapse. Yeah. Very tempted to grab. If I could grab one of those bricks or something. But see, you've got all this underneath there. But then on the front of it, you have the brickwork here. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I wanted to just mention that with the arches, because you notice that a lot. And you have that as well. Spaces going across them. And there you have that feature as well, bricked up windows. And that there is new, you can tell. Door bit. But again, we're on quite a bit of a slope here. So there we have it. So I'm just gonna wait for Dave and we can continue. In the meantime, oh yeah, hi Luna, if you're in there. I did see your name earlier. Good to see you. I did respond to your comment as well, by the way. So thanks for checking in. Long time no speak and all that. Hope you're all right. Hope things are okay down under. You know, so our end, the top of the ball, Luna, everything's fine, as you can see. It's all so relative that we're not noticing the spin. It's quite amazing. Lovely, glorious day, starting to warm up a little bit now. So, you know, should have brought your sun cream. Yeah, bricks upon bricks upon bricks. Quite amazing. Right, there's definitely a building down there that we'll have a look at in a minute as we go down this road. Bear with us. Let's have a look up this road quickly. Again, you have windows at a low level. A low level compared with what we see as ground level. Look at this here. This is the thing with Bournemouth, it's all hilly and ups and downs and stuff like that, and you just wonder. That's a window there. By the time I stand here, it's at my head height. And we keep walking down this road and it gets even deeper and lower. Hi, Dave. Oh, you must be called Dave as well.
Yeah. I just want to tell you guys, I just spoke to an Italian man who's homeless. He got like run over by a car 3 months ago. He's been in a coma for 20 days. And they won't give him housing. His shit is going bad for him. But I told him, that he is God and he's an expression of the Creator, and if he can know that in his heart, he will find the magnetism, the energy, the electricity to pick his shit back up again and make awesome of his life. He's a good rugby player, he's a good man, you know, but he can't hold his shit together right now. And that car accident maybe was brought to kind of give him a real test. And this is what this life is, a test.
Yeah.
So, back to work.
Should we take a walk up here? Just to see where it takes us? Nothing to add to what you just said there, Dave, by the way. Oh, there wasn't
Good. Yeah, I wonder if they've got a basement here. Just all of this is also run down, eh?
They let it get run down. It's just why?
This is valuable real estate.
That's a nice tea room, by the way. I've been in there.
Ah.
They do a lovely pot of tea. Hopefully the stream will stay on. I'm just going to go down here. Look how deep this goes.
There you go. What a surprise.
Here we go. So that is a good few metres again. Well, 2 metres I would say.
Check out the crabs. Someone's got crabs here.
No. Probably from Muddyford, because you can do crabbing in a place called Muddyford, which is just in between here and hiya. Okay? Good. I think he thought I was stealing his crabs with my phone. Yeah, you can do crabbing in Muddyford. You know about that, don't you?
No.
No, you can
I've seen people crabbing. I haven't had crabs.
Take your boy crabbing to Muddyford. It's a nice thing to do. They give them all. Yeah, go up here. They give them all a little basket and stuff.
It's off, right off. Yeah.
Absolutely off.
And there'll be a basement to this house as well.
There will be a basement to this house.
And then...
And the ground being so uneven, of course they'll all go deep down anyway, won't they, these buildings?
Step up into this floor there, but no steps here.
No steps here, because, again, oops, excuse me. So we got, again, this facade, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that, breaking away here. Again, we've got the erosion, signs of erosion.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at this cross member here.
Yeah.
That is brand new, man.
That is not from
because
a day.
it's not been weathered. Because it's not been weathered, it doesn't look at all new. Old. And that's a form, you know, it's just concrete form.
Yeah.
So that part was taken out of our history, the ability to create concrete form.
Right. Because that's what we were saying as well, you know, I mean, there's a lot of talk about concrete and cement and all that sort of stuff. Well, the Romans allegedly had a form of concrete, didn't they? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, they must have done, well.
Whilst they were polishing their bronze skirts between battles.
Yeah.
But,
You'll find these places, little telltale. I can't see any little telltale.
well, look at this at the top of the hill on the right, where we just been to the
Wow.
Bournemouth College, right? And
now look, if you stop now, and then look up to the top, that little V you can see up there.
Gable up there, yeah.
That looks to me more original. And
Yeah.
They didn't cover that perhaps because, or perhaps they did, but
the brick looks different as well.
Does look very different. I
Yeah.
think this front is definitely much newer.
Well, that looks the front of that. That may as well be the rear of that bloody college. It's the same, isn't it?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
So if you go up close to it,
Again, can you imagine the amount of construction happening simultaneously in that 20-year period?
Absolutely.
With a very, very thin population.
right. So let's go over to here. And I didn't know about this building. I've never been up this road, you see. That's why I wanted to go up it. I thought, why not do it with Dave?
Well, look here. Again, now the house has got to step up now.
They're going to step up. I mean, this is quite a grading, by the way. So even here on the new building, you can see the ground level here is, of course, higher than the ground level there. But here you can see I've never been here before.
A retaining wall there.
Another retaining wall. Lovely backyard. The George Cross of England. Patriotic. Right, and then we have this here that almost looks new.
And with the doorway, that isn't much bigger than a window.
No, not really.
Really, it's not that impressive a doorway for something.
No, the doorway is not impressive at all. It could just be a basic consulate somewhere in the back streets of Madrid, couldn't it? A little British consulate
Perhaps
thing.
they'd not bothered with these 3 stairs.
That looks a bit cheap as well. Doesn't even look good, does it? And it's already eroded away.
Oh yeah. Well, I think they'd admit that these stairs are newer, much newer than the building. They would admit that.
But then, you can't get around it, unfortunately. I mean, this one looks like a facade. It really does. That looks newer.
It is. It is. I mean, yeah, it's just, you can see where that window frame is on that upper wall. It's kind of not well joined to the façadery.
Right.
You know, so you've just gone and stuck the stones up.
Yeah.
Really good at designing these things to fit.
Yeah.
Goodness me, they've done such a massive amount of brickwork, have they not?
They have. This is the thing. They've gone through a lot of effort.
Almost supernatural. I have to offer that.
Right. Right.
Supernatural.
So you've got a lot of things going on here. You've got the original buildings being concealed, or the original technologies, therefore, being concealed, or methods. Then you've got the question of, well, the ones that have been concealing all this, they were concealing it in a time before they had the capacity to do so in terms of bricks and stuff, because they weren't mass produced by that time. So you've got 2 things there going on. 2 things. Never mind all the other questions, right? But
well, I mean, because you've got to have all these windows made.
Yeah, everything.
You know, imagine today you said, "Oh, I need this many windows for this many projects." You'd be like, how many craftsmen would be at work for that? And those craftsmen need tools. How many tool makers were making the tools that these craftsmen were using?
Absolutely. And then you'd have to put all your other building sites on hold nationwide, so you've got all your expertise in one place. Unless everybody, of course, was a brick mason back then.
Yes.
Right.
Now there's the laid stone at 1912.
Right.
It could well have been laid then.
But look how new this looks for 1912, apart from the obvious erosion when you look up close. But it looks new. Yeah. So think about the ones that look much older.
Yeah, I would suggest that this white facade has actually been polished in recent years.
Probably.
Because if you look at the crenellated sections, they're not as clean.
No,
they're a bit more yellowed.
Yeah,
so
you can see under that shelving a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's been some sort of 1980s or maybe the last 20 years they've given this a little bit of a rub. Because even that section there is a bit browner down there.
It is.
Than this here, which would have worn more.
You can see it on the rock bit as well. The underneath bit is darker and a bit dirtier as well, if you like, for example. But the stairs don't do it justice, do they? They're not doing a very good job on that.
No.
And
of course they weren't disability compliant when they did this, so we're doing more retrofitting, which is what part of this work is, and they're putting up a big ramp to some other.
Well, that's another good guise to put retrofitting on, isn't it? Oh, we have to do something else to the building now because of wheelchairs.
I never thought about it, but with the wheelchair agenda, not that I have any issue at all, but that when they brought out that law that all buildings had to retrofit, it's like, what are they using
another
this as
excuse.
A budget to cover other activity, you know?
Another excuse to have a little fiddle around with buildings.
So now they've got to go around the back to get in.
So now you look at that and you would never think that.
No, this is brand new, I think.
That's brand new.
Yeah,
this is all brand new as well. They've just brushed the sand in there, having laid it all.
Yeah.
There we go. But that is interesting. They've gone through a lot of effort here.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, of course, you got.
I think that's interesting to note. Up here. These are made of copper.
Yeah.
Or is that a?
I would say that's copper. Don't they go green?
They do, but
they go green, don't they? In the weather?
Yeah, that could be copper.
Yeah, I would say it is. It's a bit like the Liver buildings in Liverpool. I think that's why they've changed colour, is because they were copper structures that turn green. I've heard that they were steel or whatever, but I believe copper turns green.
Yeah, and
when it oxidizes or something like that.
Well, it's that process that I think. Anyway, I mean, I think that might be a clue to what the.
And again, you have the pillar forms in the corners. Look at that with the toroidal things in the corners and everything else. It's a nod to that, whether it's original or not. It's certainly a nod to that, right?
They often remove, like what I saw with the Leadenhall was they removed the original roof, the main roof piece, and they hid it or got rid of it.
Yeah.
But I think they knew about the sort of Tesla, ether energy that's available if you know how to harness it, and they were using that to power these buildings and keep them warm.
Yeah.
So they absolutely used that. It's just at some point that all got switched off.
Yeah. Because what other function would that have? It wouldn't serve any purpose, or decorative. Why? You don't see that from down the street.
Yeah, well, and also I think often that these roofs are replaced roofs anyway. So whoever came back, they decided to go to the trouble to put that back on. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But they, it's not being damaged. It's an original. It's in good condition. So I'd suggest it was put there in the 1800s by the people 1900s people who built this, and they were using that energy at that time still. But perhaps not for long, because the world order was very, very quickly changing in the early 1900s.
Yeah. Yes, it was, because it was making sure that they needed to. Yeah. Well, we know, don't we? And it's not said in one sentence either. It's a bit more complex than that. But yeah. So here we have one of our little side streets in Bournemouth. But that tea room, if you ever get a chance, do check it out. It's a nice little place.
Sorry about the background.
Yeah, sorry about the background. Dave, thank you very much there. You were quick to apologise. That was good. I didn't think to even address the audience. I'm very sorry. I was too busy daydreaming and looking around and taking it all in. There's a good way to go for a walk. I'd say Churchill was wrong. Golf is not the best way to spoil a good walk. I would say looking at buildings is.
Yeah, we could just quickly go around the back.
Let's do that. Churchill didn't write all his any of his speeches anyway. They have speech writers, by the way.
So this is add-on, and look here, they covered this window in.
And yes, you have, and look how low this is here as well. Right, but yeah, they've covered this window in.
There's the frame. Yes.
There's the frame, and
this whole corner is a mess now.
Like something out of Oliver Twist, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like if you stand back here, Dave, right? You stand back here, you look like you're hovering on the rooftops. There's your chimneys.
Yeah.
If I did that and tilt the camera up a little bit, it looks like we're on the roof of a building. And if I go like that, suddenly there's the ground level.
Yeah.
That roof, look, it's like rooftops. It's like we're hovering.
Stand over here, you can see how.
We're hovering over the roofs of buildings. Look at that. How bizarre. How bizarre. And here as well.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Could you please tell me what is going on here?
There's nothing going on. We're filming buildings.
All right. Because it is my property, so I saw that you are taking.
We're just very interested in.
So what? This is the thing people talk about. It's their property and stuff. I can film anything I want from wherever I want to. Thank you very much. And this is the problem. So Dave is doing what he does best and will diplomatically quell it. I'm a little bit more irritable on things like that. But anyway, so yeah, when you look at this angle here, it's like looking across the rooftops of, well, we are looking across the rooftops of building, but of course they're right here on the ground. That's the point I'm making. We're not hovering at rooftop level. You know, look, there's the chimney there. What's a chimney doing in that part of the building? That's a very, very big chimney for such a small hut, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, I was just explaining that look at the size of those chimneys for those small huts below them. They're rather large, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think the reason they had to go so high was to get above the windows, so they weren't smoking into the windows of these buildings.
That could be one reason,
So
or
these are add-ons, obvious.
well, I think that goes far, far deeper. I think that's what's happening there as well.
Well, I think maybe.
Is it why build that
Possibly.
there then? To build a big chimney like that, I mean,
You have to go up above the height
Because
of
of
those
the windows, yeah.
Otherwise, the smoke is blowing into those windows over there. But you see, this is a lean-to that's been added onto the building. That's why none of it kind of adds up. It doesn't look
No,
nice.
none of it
They've
does,
closed
yeah.
another window in
they
there.
have.
Um,
Well, they've added
you
that
know,
onto a window there. If you
wouldn't
took
put
that
the chimney
away,
in
you'd
front of
see
your
the
windows.
windows.
No one's building. These guys are very smart, beautiful builders. This is
Yeah.
ugly.
Of course it is, yeah.
This is an after effect because they needed to put a fire in down here into whatever's below here.
It is an after effect, but it still doesn't make sense.
Well, of course, it doesn't make sense. And look at the way into that doorway there, which, okay, it's no longer a doorway, it's got ducting coming out of it.
Yes.
But the stairs are all caved in, so again, it suggests there's more down below.
Yeah, you see the bricks below that, where the grids are on the side, the vents or whatever they are.
Yeah. So,
and there's brickwork on the floor there, the stairs taking us down to the brickwork.
Yeah. Now, when you look up here in this section, yeah, you'll see those bricks are starting to separate a bit. In the black area there, they're starting to separate a bit. Yeah. And that's what you see, a sort of a sloughing, I call it, like where they start to sag. And the weight of them sometimes exposes cracks behind that. You will see the red brick. So that's all façadery. Everything, they always have to punch very deep through. It's like, wow, these are really thick walls, man. So again, very limited resources. You build super thick walls. No, a lot of that's add-on. So,
yes, Ellie, it is like looking at a scene from Mary Poppins. Indeed, the chimneys. But in fact, I'm confusing Mary Poppins with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I was going to say, because Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, of course, is filmed in a very, very interesting place. Yeah. It's Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria, the one that Disney modelled his on. Yeah. You know, from Ludwig II or whatever his name was, the Sun King, his name was. And yeah, if you ever go there, it's just, again, it's one of those, well, how do you pull that on there? But there we go. Anyway.
So I'll just point out that that glass bridge,
right?
That glass-fronted bridge that crosses between this building and that building. I mean, that's a great example of how you have to, again, retrofit something. It would seem there's a slanted roof beneath it, so there's building beneath that.
Yeah.
But you know, again, you could say, well, at one point a second owner could have come and built something on like that. Yes, I would accept that excuse or possibility. You know, that could be that.
Then again, we have another chimney there, different type one this time. This time they used the metal one. Yeah, then much later, more industrial chimney, easier, cheaper.
Again, also had to attain the same height in order to get the.
Behind that, you can see how the roofing goes round. So if I zoom in there behind those,
they were good
chimneys,
at roofing in the 1800s. When I saw
at
Leighton Hall's roof, I was like, okay, this is 100-odd years old. It's actually a really well done roof. You know, they were good builders. Whoever did this were good builders.
Very much so. And they took pride in their craft, quite clearly.
Where were we when they were doing this?
We were being manufactured in one of their very buildings. Probably, Dave.
Okay.
I would imagine so, before they let us all loose in the form of orphans.
Right, yeah, that's what I like that theory.
Yeah, well, they had to make use of the train system, the newly developed train system, didn't they? And justify all the new tracks that don't bend round balls. Yeah. Anyway, going off on a tangent there again, Dave. See, you do this to me, you see. Yeah. Well, we just ended up in the back.
Mind the nettles.
Yes. So the lady who was here, owns this, does she?
Dump.
Right. So did you congratulate her on her maintaining of this area of Bournemouth? Because she clearly cares more about someone filming the building than actually looking after it, right?
Okay.
Hi, mate.
This is probably.
Yeah, not very friendly. Hey.
Why would you like me to say hello?
I wouldn't like to say hello. I just say hello. That's just the way I am. People say hello around here. They do.
Everyone.
Well, not everyone. Yeah, we just noticed that. There you go. I've never ever had anyone say that to me in my life in my 49 years on this earth.
You know what the energies at the moment are?
It's bizarre, isn't it?
People are suffering through a whole lot of horseshit.
Very much so. Very much so.
They're just biting the bullet, but it's messing them up.
It is messing them up.
All of us. I'm not excused from that.
No, absolutely. It's affecting everybody. It's what I've been saying as well. Doesn't matter what side of any fence anybody finds himself, so-called fence. Everyone's been affected in one way, shape or form. Absolutely. And I've never impolitely been approached like that by anybody when I've said hello. I didn't say hello in a funny way or anything. I'm not taking it personally. It's just interesting.
Perhaps you misheard me when I said something that maybe to you, I think you might have thought I was saying it to you.
Well, yeah. Well, people normally say they're normally just friendlier, aren't they? But anyway, it doesn't matter. There we go. Interesting. That sort of highlighted something that we've been talking about as well recently. Time for some chalk. Yeah, so interesting buildings everywhere you look, concealment of original buildings, and then of course the facades themselves unexplainable in terms of, you know, the time and date that they would have done that. But yeah. we go. Just in case you didn't know. Right, Dave. So should we turn right and go further into town, or yeah? We'll do that. We'll give it another half an hour or so, see where it takes us. We're on the hour and a half mark. Well, whatever. If we do longer, we do longer. That's not a problem. I'm just keeping my eye out in case I get shut down. But I should be all right. Should be okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's per day or per month you get that many minutes.
Yeah, but as long as I stay under it, even with the 2 sessions I've done, then I'll be all right. And if it's 300, it will be, well, it's nearly 400 subscribers. If it's a minute per subscriber, what's that? 612, it's 6 to the 36. Yeah, so you're talking at least 6 hours.
7 hours.
7 hours, yeah. Sure. Absolutely. So I should be okay. But here,
these little houses up top here have been added after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's suggestive to me because you see how this is flat. If you look up the top there, it's kind of flat, and they've got done something up there. But for me, I see like the possibility that the original roof went away, or they took the roof away in order to put this higher floor, create a new floor for the building.
Yeah. Excuse the noise again.
So much work, so much, refurb and change. It's insane to think how they actually pulled it off.
It is.
Sometimes lost for words.
It is. It is insane. It is insane. A lot of work involved. A lot of manpower, a lot of know-how, expertise, all that stuff that we simply struggle to work out.
I started an online gym business once called Revolution Fitness. I see the Revolution sign.
Yes, this is the infamous Revolution bar in Bournemouth.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody.
You can see up there.
Yeah.
So that house there is all a mess, really. You can see that blue and white house.
Yeah, it is.
It's got this upper floor and walk upstairs, up those stairs.
It is. And then again, you have this building in front of us, which has the what's called Albany Terrace, 1883. It says at the top there on that triangle and the gable.
How did they even get past each other? There was so much construction going on.
Right, and don't forget, we had no roads here. This didn't exist. We didn't have any roads, no asphalt, no cars, no bus stops, nothing.
But they had a lot of horses.
Well, they apparently had a lot of horses. Well, the New Forest is only down the road, but it's so new it might not have been around then. Who knows?
No, before veganism.
Before veganism.
There was a lot more animals, and they didn't seem to mess up the ozone layer.
No, I don't believe cow farts were ever actually an issue back then.
Political
and yet there were more of them.
Political farts are.
Oh, thank you. I very nearly walked into a bit of turd.
But political farts, that's a completely different matter.
Well, there is. Hot air is all around, Dave.
And it's pretty rancid.
It is rancid, but luckily it rises. So
everything hot rises.
Everything hot rises.
I've often thought about that. If I think living on a ball, if I was living on, say, the equator, and I light a fire, isn't that heat going to go to the top of the ball?
Yes, it is.
Naturally, that's what it's not going to go out sideways. Can you imagine
heat
that?
expands, doesn't it?
And then
it needs to move as well.
And if this heat isn't affected by gravity, and same with helium,
right,
that it can rise without gravity affecting it, then surely it wouldn't cause it to have that same effect that everything else does, which is to believe that it was wherever it was, even if it was on the equator, it was somehow on the top.
Well,
it was going to rise above his head.
Well, then maybe we should talk.
Oh, have a look down here.
Yeah, maybe we should write to the education people and ask them to call it selective gravity from here on in, because if gravity doesn't work on fresh water but works on seawater, then clearly it's selective. Right.
Yeah, this building here has got these vents because it's got a downstairs that needs venting.
Yes, it has got a downstairs needs venting. Here's the best one here that's nice and
this is thin. This is your floor level for the buildings, current ground level. So this is the basement.
Of course, you'll have bricks right behind that.
Yeah. And then of course these strange looking windows which caught my eye initially, which again it's like, wow, so people lived in dark times where there were bandits and so on, and they put windows like this?
Yeah, well, this is it. We lived in dark times where there were bandits and...
then look here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's all concrete. It's all added on after.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't mean to be rude. Visiting your area.
Oh, mate, you're right. Yeah, good, mate. Sorry, mate. Here's another one here, Dave.
Oh, no, see, it's just never ending.
It's never ending. Look at this. Now this is a beauty. I don't think there's much. Well, the windows are new, as in the windows. The actual windows themselves are obviously they're all plastic now. But the brickwork, I would suggest, is not façadery on this. And if we look at just at first glance, I'm looking from the bottom up, really. So.
Wow, this one's a beauty.
It is a beauty, isn't it?
They've dug out in front of it. It's a nice place, and they've dug out in front. They've dug these windows out. Not all of them. Oh, they've only gone to window level.
They've only gone to window level, mate. Yeah.
So the floor is 4 foot lower than that window.
Yeah.
5 foot lower than that window.
It is a lovely one, isn't it? But the stairs, of course, they've added on.
Yeah.
Right. We've got our plank there, like you were saying.
Yeah.
This bit here.
Yeah. Well, they didn't need to. They only dug this little bit, so they only got a small retaining wall here. They haven't gone any further down with this one. And the same with around the side of the house here, I think.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
It's got a little bit. Maybe.
So you've got the stairways that have been built after. Right. So this one here is clear to see. You've got the concrete siding here with the erosion that we were talking about earlier. So that is a good indicator of it being newer, because you can see it's been added on. Right. I'm coming around here now, Dave. So let's have a look at this. Look at that. Look how low.
So we're right into downstairs. Yeah.
And then we're not even to downstairs yet.
Ta-da!
Right. So we are now. How far are we below? Because we're ahead 6 foot.
Yeah.
Something like that, roughly. So that's at least 6 foot that goes down. 2 meters, roughly.
Yeah, and that doesn't even bring it. That only brings you back to this height, not
right.
back to this height. Which is So that's probably 8 foot in all.
Yeah.
Because they've dug a little bit here, I think.
But that is quite a beauty, isn't it? And then you have this frontage here. Again, the arch. That I don't think.
You see, this is newer. You can see this is much newer. Look at this.
Yeah. That's new, isn't it?
Yeah. It just looks completely different to the outside. Yeah, so now if you can get back a little bit and look at that top window, that very small window.
Oh, the small one underneath there.
The one above this bigger one.
Yeah.
You might need to step back
Step back a little bit. If that tree's not in the way, I'll just go to behind your left shoulder, Dave. And that way. Oh, the sun. Right. I just want to avoid the sun.
Yeah.
And then we can zoom in on it.
That window up there. That's what says to me that's all facade, that brickwork, because it just makes no sense to recess your window in like that.
No.
And that's that could be an add-on window even, but they've gone to the trouble there of putting that scallop brickwork beneath it, but they haven't done the same thing for this larger window beneath that.
No.
So that could have been added just to make some light, modern addition.
Yeah.
For
You have the same patterning underneath that window there as well on the gable.
Yeah.
Same thing. And you have the same arch type work above that window as you do, as you do here.
I can't, there's just so much of it across the world.
It's mad, isn't it? And
what if they had 100 years? What if they had 150 years or something, Who knows? We don't know how long they had, actually.
No, we don't.
Pull this off. And then they only have to, in order to meet with the history, they have to give these things a certain date. And they put it inside of a 30 or 40 year timeline.
Yeah. Wow, is that so we're talking concealment of concealment as well, aren't we? It's proper layered, isn't it? I mean, look here, this side, of course.
This has been better dug out.
This has been better dug out. This looks more like it. But again, it still goes deeper because look at this here. People will say that's a coal door or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
That's why they built.
But that's not level. That goes down. There you can see that. It's not level.
No.
They put a square box on the front of it to make it look level, but that actually goes down deep. That goes down.
Here's the way to see it, right? Look at this. This is the first floor.
Yes, it is.
Up there is the next floor. That going across there.
Yeah.
So you've got to go down from that distance, from here to here. You've got to go down that much.
Yeah.
And it's probably more than. Yeah, it's more than what's been excavated here. You see that? You can see that height and that height. They're not the same.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
And they've taken something out of here as well. Look.
Yeah.
That used to be a bigger window.
Yes.
They've bricked that closed and put a smaller window there.
Yeah.
And here, well, that looks like nothing's been taken away there, but all bricked up. But here we have.
Oh yeah, look at that all dug up. And then you've got to create this heavy retaining wall.
Yeah, you have to create that retaining wall. How do you do? You need technology to do that. You can't just have 100 men stood there holding it for half a year.
Yeah, and this is probably not this might be a more recent one than the original. So,
yeah.
They fail. I mean, this one's failing over there.
Looking for markings or anything that might be on it.
Interesting that there's no marking.
Right, exactly.
You wouldn't want to have someone sniffing around your works.
No.
Oh, look at how this.
I mean, poverty has got bad in Bournemouth, hasn't it? If people are starting to eye up bricks.
Retaining wall, yeah.
Let's have a look. Oh wow. Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, hidden in the corner. Look at that.
I think the tree's not helping.
The tree is not helping. That I hope the council check this every now and then.
Yeah.
I really hope they do, because look at that. That is the power of nature right there. Retaining walls can hold back earth, right, for you to build a construction, allegedly, but yet a tree will just break right through it. How poignant a picture.
So back here,
there we go.
These windows are fascinating.
Let's have a look. Oh, the ones in the back. Oh, yes. Look at that. Well, is that a synagogue? I don't know, is the answer.
No, that's how, that's done by people who know about the,
look at those windows.
Kind of occulted energy system.
What building is that? Let's go and have a look.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's got very church-like, reminiscent of the church.
Is it?
Is it not a church?
Let's have a look.
I don't see any spire or any steeple or anything like that, but it just, if it had one, you'd go, oh yeah, that's a church.
Right, I can see some paint glass windows below it. That's why I'm thinking it might be a synagogue because of those windows, but...
we must have just come past it.
Yeah, let's have a look. Well, it's not the building we looked at, is it? Is that not the back of the building we just looked? That's what it is, isn't it?
We can go this way.
Let's go this way, shall we? So yeah. Oh, let's have another look. Oh yeah, we just came from here. So we went down those stairs a second ago. Excuse that. Nobody calls me all day, and when I'm doing something, someone decides to call me. Right, people that I'm trying to get hold of, that is, it's another story. Yeah, right, so. Cheers, mate. See you later, man. Hi. Hi, right. So let's have a look. We're just going to try and check out what that building is. Oh, look, your name is across the road there on the sign.
Trinity.
Unbelievable. What does this all mean, Dave?
Trinity.
Christchurch Road as well is actually where I live. But it's a very long road before anybody's trying to hunt me down. I think we'll go and turn it a droite.
Yeah, we'll turn here, yeah.
In this road here.
Yeah. Have the interesting looking dude.
Or we can say rechts means right in German. Rechts.
Rechts.
But the letter R has to come from the bottom of your throat, not from your mouth.
Yeah, the bottom of my throat's dry at the moment.
Well, it would be. It would be.
But,
Gandhi's flip-flop, we call that in the trade. You know what I mean?
This is interesting. Back here, I actually, in Afrikaans, rechts.
Yeah, there you go. It's the R from behind here. That's why the Scots are pretty good at German as well when they learn German. Because they have the same R that comes from the back of your throat.
They got a lot of phlegm.
They do have a lot of phlegm-ish, so not too much, hence the ish.
I like the windows that I
that.
really want to buy a house that had windows at street level.
Well, you see it here as well, look.
Such a nice feature.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got it here. If you walked along there, you wouldn't even notice there's windows below that. Right, so there's your windows there, right? Look, there. But then if I go across the street and walk along... Oh, there, behind me, by the way, Dave. Look at the bottom of the street. Right, you stand here, you wouldn't notice it. All right, there's parked cars in the way, of course. But there's your house, there's your window, and that's it done. But of course, you got lower levels below that, and yet you go to the other side of the street, and they have to keep building these stairs to go into what have become ground level. But of course, I'm not ground level at all. Higher again here on the left there, you can see. Excuse me again for the phone ringing. I shall do that. Could somebody just give me a thumbs up just to double confirm to me that you can still hear me talking, please?
You were right, you know.
Synagogue?
Yeah.
Thought so.
Again, they just haven't used the same bricklayer, the same concretist.
Thank you, Luna. Cheers. Thank you very much. Yeah, good. They can hear me. That's excellent. Yes, synagogue. And a lovely building it is too. Made of bricks. But I think the left-hand part of it looks older. The right-hand part almost looks like a bit of an add-on.
Oh yeah, that's probably right.
And the front certainly is an
look
add-on.
at the square block windows they've got up there.
Yeah. You know, and the difference in colour as well. I think that building only went up to literally here. Pretty much.
Okay, well how about this date?
Let's have a look at this, see what they say.
January 5th, 1911.
1911, this foundation stone was laid by Albert Samuel.
Silverman Esquire. I mean, obviously that has Jewish naming to it,
course.
so you've got to give that something. And of course, all communities need, representation. And you see that in these places, and they're all in the club somehow, or they,
The Chief Rabbi, the Very Reverend.
1911 as well.
1911 as well. I mean, far be it from us to be paying too much attention to the numerology or anything, because that would just be a coincidence, as we're always told. Yes, and a nice little bit of checkered flooring there.
Oh, did you notice this?
And the same thing that the police, by the way, have round as a band around their hats, or the female police officers have it on their bow ties, is that pattern there. The Masonic checkered floorboards. Yes. Sorry, mate. I noticed that with the 5721, yeah.
So, it's a completely different numbering system. Why?
Yet they use that numbering system for the death. Sure. Or not.
No, I think he's just saying that's the equivalent date.
Right, that's the equivalent date.
Yeah, 5,721.
Is 1961.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was that date.
I would need a converter, an app.
Well, he's laying the stone. He's not being laid to rest.
No, he's not being laid to rest, but I thought it might have been just expressing him as a person, how long he existed. No, you're right. Yeah, well, okay, that's interesting as well, isn't it? That they put that on there.
Well, it's just that their numbering system suggests something. I mean, is it also misdirection? But is the 6,000, because we know the 1961 is it's just a thumbsuck some point in time, and
1961. Just look at the number.
I've seen J's.
Looks interesting, isn't it?
I've seen I's. Yeah. I have seen numbers around Europe where they're not a 1 and they're a J, or an I. So is this whole 1-9 part of a deception as well? So 1,000 years here, 5,000 there.
Yeah.
Can't get in here. But yeah, I mean, this building's got what we were talking about the other day. When you've got the fire escape requirement of the modern age, then they have to kind of retrofit that round the back, and it's all very messy.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't abide by fire restriction rulings, does it? Caging your windows to prevent people from escaping. Not a great idea. But Yeah.
If we can get up here. Again, dug out.
Interesting. Yes, again dug out.
Tons of it. All the way up there. All of this retaining wall.
To hold all that back.
Yeah.
And
now a car park.
isn't there? There's a wall there. There's a wall there.
Mm.
It's like the terraces, isn't it?
The excuse will be that during the war, a lot of dirt was flying during the Battle of Britain.
Or we know there's a concentration of unexploded bombs there, so what we've done is we filled it up. Or whatever, you know.
It would be good to also find the evidence of all these digs. Like, where did all this founding go? If you dig out all this foundation, you've got to move it somewhere. And we don't see evidence of that. Or interestingly, and as having spent a bit of time as a gardener, what you do hear is old ladies tell you that we get these building rubble come up in the ground all the time, and it was just the bad builders from some previous works on this house.
Yeah.
When in fact it might have been that's just some of the damaged brickwork that got flooded away.
Absolutely.
At some point. Oh, dead pigeon.
Dead pigeon, yeah. Oh well.
Shame, dude.
Shame.
Hope it was a good time, and you're probably having more fun where you are now.
Well, you would imagine so, wouldn't you?
Well, there's no EMF, chem, all of that stuff goes away, you know.
Or pest.
Hey, but here's a thought for you. What if all of that stuff could go away? We could walk down here.
What stuff?
What stuff? Like those things that you worry about.
Yeah.
Chem or people worry about.
Yeah.
Chem. Or look at this window down here.
Ooh, look at this here. And again.
And what about that window under the...
Right.
But people worry a lot about chem and about things that are going to hurt them, and that's really all in the mind. If you just go out and enjoy your day, you'll have a lot more fun than worrying about the things that are going to be to worry.
It's the same about interaction with, we learn that in certain circles as well, that resentment, worry, and all that sort of stuff, fear and everything else is the only let's say that you fall out with someone, for example. If you're going to worry and stew on that all the time, then you're the one dealing with that baggage. The person who you're stewing over probably doesn't give a toss, right? And you know, so this idea, this notion of giving other people your energy that is better used for yourself, more constructively, productively, and all the rest of it, I think that's the way to go, right? And it's anything in life that we do, whether it's on a personal level, within families, friends, work colleagues, whatever it is, you know. But here we have the Turkish barber, but again, an interesting facade. If we just go around the left here,
let's
have a look down here. Glenfern Road, this is.
We did start back there. We came to start here.
We did.
Look down here, but we didn't look down this.
Did we look down this one? We didn't look down here, did we? I think we did. Yeah, that goes all the way down there. There we go. We did start down here, didn't we? That was the road that we came up there. There we go. So, yeah, you have a lot of this then. So you got, again, we have those pillars. There's one there in the middle. You'd very rarely see that. I've not seen that before, that they just have one pillar in the middle of what they've made into windows.
Yeah.
That's unusual.
It's right in front of the woodwork.
Yeah, right. It's right in front of the woodwork. Which suggests to me that that was never meant for windows. It must have been an opening. Or maybe there was something else there that he had there. I don't know. I have no idea, really. And speculate till the cows come home. So you got these sorts of buildings there, of course.
This will be a coal bunker down here. This is where they say it'll be a coal bunker.
Right.
But of course it's hollow underneath.
It is.
So they used them as coal bunkers in the 1900s. There's no doubt about that.
Well, they would have made you like they've used buildings as churches.
Yeah,
the same thing. You know, it doesn't mean to say they were built as churches.
You adapt it.
If you're inheriting something, that's exactly what you do.
And if you've got these narrow staircases down into your basement or whatever, then having a doorway on the outside, and it's so easy to access the basement, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. There's the Citrus building, so-called.
So it's replaced probably whatever was originally on this point.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of construction, because you don't get the sense that there were tooths. There was holes in the gaps in the walls here. You know, there were just these buildings, all of them, most of them, were already here. They might have been replaced for various reasons, but they were already here in so many, and we haven't really, you know, increased that number of shops. We might have made bigger shops out of 2 or 3 shops and knocked them together and gone up a few stories or whatever.
Right.
But really, we're using the same footprint to a large extent here in Bournemouth as the people did who built it, because so much of this is all of the same era.
That's
it's
the point.
all the same brick.
Yeah.
It's all the same kind of, even though they might be stuck together on the face, they're all from the same time. You don't dig these in.
Look at that one there, right? Look at the size of those blocks that they've used there on that facading. Right.
Yeah.
You don't see brickwork there, but that is made of bricks.
Yeah.
That building, right? Yeah. The one to the left of it kind of validates that point. Look to the left of that building there, with the bit of Antiquitech on the top, the big surface area ball.
Yes.
On the top of the
conductor.
The conductor, right? So if you look at that,
the conductor of the orchestra is the guy who's got that little baton, and he wafts it in such a way as to create electricity, and the orchestra respond to his conduction. And it creates beautiful music, hopefully. And that's what they were doing.
That's what they were doing.
Electricity creates sound. With that sound, you create heat.
Yeah, and that interacts with your eardrums and all your senses within your ear.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, you could actually warm a room. You could warm it if you could interact with the ether in your space.
Oh, if you could do that, you could manipulate that for it to work.
You could make that space warmer by putting a harmonic into it.
You could probably also keep yourself full of nutrition by using that technology.
That's what they suggest.
Maybe not having to go out and hunt or harvest or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've read something about that, about the fireplaces, the large fireplaces, what they may have been made for or meant for in the old, what we call castles now, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple of them in real life, and they are massive, they're huge. You're thinking they obviously weren't used as fire. They may have been used as fireplaces to a later date, perhaps, but you know, look at this. You know.
Yeah, and again, that's the way these are tied together. These two buildings here, it's ugly.
But there you have the Antiquitech on the top there on the left, clear to see. And look at the birdage there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this one here. The chimney there is made of bricks on the top of that.
And it proudly says 1899.
1899 it says on there.
Victorian downlight.
Yeah. Nicely painted in white letters.
And they're so hard to come by the way. They're so hard to get now. You'd think, wow, so the Victorians have a technology that we struggle to replicate in some way. Come on.
Right. Well, we've never been back to the moon, Dave, because it would be an expensive process to build all that technology back. So, you know, we know that
back to the moon in a nanosecond.
We know that technology regresses. We know that technology regresses, Dave. You know, we see it in our cars, in our phones. It always gets worse with time. They get bigger with time, more cumbersome, slower, you know. I mean, they're just falling right in line with the organic nature of technology. Not that technology is organic, it's man-made, of course, but...
There is organic technology, Gene.
Well, there is, yeah.
Which is why the cauliflower will grow in that beautiful spiral.
Yeah.
We see the fern, you know, replicating itself in these spirals. It's just unbelievable.
It is.
Unbelievable.
Look down here. There we have it again. So, yeah, that's obviously the top of what used to be windows. Hello.
Isn't this crazy that window is right by the street.
I never really thought about it.
Yeah, I've been walking around a few cities in the world, and there's so many cities that have the same feature of buildings that, I mean, we're just pointing out the one over there where they've actually bricked in what would have been a window at one point, and they've just bricked it in. Sometimes you can go down inside of them and see that the window frame drops down inside the street level, like below the street level. The rain that's going to come in there, the problems that are going to, weathering, this sort of thing, it makes no sense. You see there's like a hole over there. So all of this new thing was actually flooded 400 or 500 years ago. And they left behind, or reclaimed it where they could. So town hall buildings and so on, they'll give up the original ground floor. And then they'll move into the first floor and call that the ground floor. They'll make 3-4 stairs and then make that a basement. And you see that all over the place. It's an area of research called mudflood. And if you look into mudflood, it connects to a history called Tartaria, which when you start looking at these buildings, thousands of miles from each other, places in the world where they're all simple square stones, magnificent structures, and they match the European structures of the how was their knowledge shared? That these people in South America or China or whatever will do the same kind of thing. And then you see the same sort of loss of an original ground body around London, Liverpool, so many places where there's underground buildings that we've just getting up on the ground floor, just built on top. You would scour all of this stuff out and start again. You think that what's happening? Mud has come up and they've just can reclaim this, but they can't reclaim all of that window, so they up the slope, so they just make bigger, smaller and smaller windows as you go up the hill. That's how they've done it. We don't know how. It then says our whole history, even 200 years, can't be taken. Even our current history might not be accurate.
So,
We see a lot of buildings.
what we're going to do is probably we're going to
what they call Victorian facading,
wrap up in a minute, because A, the weather is closing in ever so slightly, but B, I do fancy a bite to eat. Starting to feel a little bit peckish. Just see what we're going to do in a second. I reckon another 10-15 minutes or something like that. But yeah, there's lots and lots and lots to see, and while you're walking around you just walk past stuff as well, and then it's very tempting just to double back and have another look. But a lot to chew over, a lot to think about. There's a lot going on, to hide all this from us. Yeah.
So what would be the point of putting on this heavy cladding? Sometimes it's only one brick, sometimes it's the clads that they put on town halls building.
Bricks upon bricks upon bricks. Yeah, this is what he was talking about here then. So you can see here clearly where two openings were. One here and one there. Got the bricks down the middle there. Got the arch over the top, the slight arch. Well, that's there. Is that an arch even? Yes, it is. Very, very slight arch. And of course, first of all, the windows have been bricked up, which means those were bricked up before the floor came up to this level. We would agree on that, right? So when was this flooring put in that I'm stood on? Right? So, you really have to start digging deep, as it were, no pun intended, to kind of get the timeline squared away, because that's the thing, isn't it? Working that out. Unjumbling that. They've done a good job of that, haven't they? They do all the time, there's so many versions and so many kind of official explanations for stuff and variations thereof that it kind of keeps you all confused. Like, well, yeah, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. So you have to really, really start from scratch and just look at the basics, which is what we're trying to do. say the basics. Some of it is quite, I won't say complicated necessarily, but you have to look properly, take another glance to notice. Yeah. Everywhere you look, you know, you take this facading off here, for example. Obviously, that's modern day facade, and you can see that there. But you know, you have all this underneath, revealed by all this brickwork, brickwork, brickwork. Everywhere you look, brickwork, brickwork, brickwork. Houses in the background, brickwork. Buildings across the street, brickwork. All of them, bricks, bricks, bricks upon bricks. You know, and like I say, they were supposed to be built when we're told, and someone's been telling porky pies and continues to do so in an official capacity. Right, I'm just trying to get Dave away from the conversation at some point, because we do need to make a move. Bear with us a second and then we'll move on. Don't want to interrupt, guys, but I'm going to have to move on. Come on. That's what happens to me all the time. I start talking about stuff, like with my neighbours or whatever, if I get a chance to have a chat with them about it, and they start to get a little bit more open-minded. It just leads you down lots of things to talk about. It just does. One thing leads to another, because it, like we keep on saying, it's just all connected. It really is all connected, all of it. You know, as Ellie always puts it, the lie itself. But it's very true. You know, so there's something not right if you're being lied to about pretty much everything. And you know, whether it's the world you're living in, the shape of the world you're living in, the architecture, the medication you're taking, the education you're being told and taught, and all the rest of it, right, mate? All the apple, we were talking about Adam yesterday, weren't we? Or the day before.
That lady loved. She just said, "I love it. Thank you so much."
And see the place right next to that?
I tell you what, she asked me why mud flood mattered. And I told her that actually it leads, all of it actually leads back to you. Even though we can't maybe change the paradigm, it leads back to, wow, they've gone to the trouble of hiding all of these buildings from us.
That's that realization point, isn't it, that you want to achieve with somebody, is when someone goes, hang on a minute, okay, well, if they're doing that, why?
Yeah.
What are they hiding?
Yeah.
Because they're clear. The first point is, are they even hiding anything? Or is this just all a coincidence and this is just all nonsense, and all they've done is built upon buildings, and more buildings is what they tend to do, right? That's the official thing. Then you watch a bit of Time Team and they'll explain it to you when they find an old Saxon coin in the back garden, right? And they'll say, look, we found some mosaic underneath our tomatoes.
That we planted last
year, right? And there suddenly it's Roman baths discovered, and you know, there. This is fascinating. Okay, I've been up here before, and this is actually very fascinating. Take a look at this. Yeah, so you've got this view from here, just come from, well, that building around the corner, obviously. So let's go up these steps, brickwork behind there. Look at that window. Look at that window. That used to be one, of course. So look at that there. Well, that wooden cladding, of course, is hiding a hole.
Yeah.
If we go up a bit further, this is called Dalkeith Steps. Interesting.
This is one of the entrance we have for very small people. but we've had to brick it over because there's not many very small people around.
And the taller ones are the small people. We're only allowed to walk in the middle. That's where it's at its highest. The
Just
smaller ones.
The scale there.
The kiddie small people have to walk around the edges because. So
well,
look at the, I mean, even the brickwork is lovely.
Yeah, all the window brickwork you've got here. So this would have possibly been original, like refurb. I think later on they had to make a door here.
Just look at here, yeah.
You know, I think they've had to, I think they've had to make a door here later on.
Because that all aligns nicely. This is what we were saying, right? There you see an angle, and that is all joined up as you would expect it to see if you're if it's together as one, you know?
Yeah. Around the side,
again, that's metal, so that clearly goes further down. I'm stood on asphalt.
Oh, look at this, my friend.
Oh, wow.
Again,
look at that.
This is the sort of thing that a builder would want to do. Create himself a 10-foot retaining wall problem right up against his building. As you can see, the building there is so wet, it's just crumbling away.
Would you not build it so your windows are looking into each other's rooms as well?
Yeah, and I'd probably take those windows about a foot down so that the rain could more easily wash in there on a wet night.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so it's odd hodgepodge because it feels like this was just added on later. I don't understand why you would put this section here into this wall. It doesn't quite add up.
No, it doesn't quite add up.
Knock, knock. Oh, wow. Look at that. Wow, that's deep. No, that's very deep.
And that is bricks at the bottom. Right at the bottom there, next to that wooden thing.
Yeah, they've had to brick that. But
they've had to brick that.
That's
a good 5 meters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that. That's the side of this building. And there's a slight arch, so they've bricked something up here.
Yeah, this is two windows. You got possibly a double window being bricked in here.
Yeah. And what about below that? There's the top of others as well. So that goes much deeper down. Much deeper down. Much deeper down. Wow.
It's hard to excuse, eh?
It is very hard to excuse.
Like being in the Curvature Defenders Club. It's really difficult. And people have to make whoa.
Look at
That's
this.
the deepest we've seen it. Keep going.
Let's have a look. I'll keep going. And either my stream cuts out. If it does, apologies. I'll go back up. These stairs are clearly new-ish.
Right. Yeah, that's as deep as we saw earlier. Does that go deeper?
Yeah, it does go deeper.
Well,
Goes right down. This must be the back of a restaurant or something. I don't know.
Wow, that could be 3 stories.
Yeah, at least. And look at this wall here, behind it, that's holding all this. What it's made of. It's just compressed stones and stuff like that. Hi, mate, you right?
Yeah, man.
Sorry, mate, just filming a little bit of the buildings, that's all. No big deal.
Interested in the buildings around here.
Where they're built and all that, you know.
Have you ever noticed? You guys ever noticed how so many of the buildings are kind of dug into the ground? Yeah. Why would you do that if you were building it? Because they're retaining walls you got to build.
So that's yet another example. And of course you have, like what Dave was saying earlier, the hodgepodge. You know, they've just added bits to bits to bits, but it just doesn't make sense.
We don't think that's what happened. We think, because I've seen even on this building, there's windows
like this thing here. I mean, look how deep that goes. And again, you see archway there. That was something bricked up. So behind those metal rods that are there, you can see the top of that. There's a slight brick archway. You can see because the bricks are turned on their heads vertically to create those slight arches where windows, well, what we see as bricked up windows, right? Who knows what they used to be used for? Hey? So, yeah, that there as well. Was that originally even meant as a window? Who knows?
Probably not. I think that's
Who knows?
a tag on that piece to the building.
Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. The more you look, there we go. We have that skirting that comes off, peels off, and reveals the bricks behind it. Of course. Of course. Should we continue up these stairs this should take us, I think, along a path and out, if my memory serves me correctly, either behind a church or town hall. I mean, look at the back of this here.
Yeah.
Look at this. Well, we've had to go up steps. Now we're up. We're so up higher, much higher than what we were before.
Yeah, we're probably on the second or...
I mean, we're halfway up that building there, in front of us, look.
Yeah.
Right. And we're definitely halfway up these buildings. We are not on ground level of these buildings at all.
No.
How do we know that? Well, we know that because of this here. Have a look at this. Check that out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, again, another 5 meters down there, and could be certainly something below that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, we have that there. Huge walls.
Yeah, so much work, like I was saying.
So much work. So much work.
Create.
Look at that. Well, it's just, you know.
And look how much. By the way, how deep is that floor?
Right.
That floor is super deep. So again, you know, why dig into the ground? Make yourself a super grand, deep floor. So much overwork. So they've obviously had to, they've removed one floor layer somewhere in this.
But you can see that you can see the length of these windows and doorways now. There's the look at the lengths there. They're revealing themselves there. You don't normally see that. You only see half popping up, and you think the window is only that big, right?
Yeah.
But actually, they're long, and were they meant for windows, or were people just that tall that they needed tall windows like that?
I mean, for me, this is 1800s architecture. So, or even newer than that. This could have been retrofitted, but I think that this floor height was given to us by the people who did the reclamation.
Yeah.
Look how tall that is.
Yeah. You see that? So they are tall.
And the floors above do not have the same height.
They don't.
So I think they re-engineered the flooring somewhere in this building.
Well, look at the bricks here in the middle, the different bricks. Right, so you've got these bricks here.
Yeah.
Then you change colour. And then you have those above them. And but the brickwork seems the same above as below, though.
There's a window closed in behind that air conditioner.
Yeah, behind the air conditioner there. There's another one. And you've got the short entry on the left there that they put a bit of cement on the bottom just to make it look like that is actually the real size of the entry, but it's not. Again, you've got the wooden canopies here.
And people's door, right? This person's door is at the height of that window.
Yeah.
That's their floor height. Unless they walk in and have to walk downstairs a bit, but their windows are at, it seems, floor height. Maybe they walk in stairs inside and go down, but
absolutely. Absolutely interesting, isn't it? Yeah, so it's the same story really all along, isn't it?
Yeah.
Deep out the back.
And then under here, they've got a little bedroom or something. They've got space underneath the gangway, underneath the gangplank.
And so it continues, and this is the back of all those buildings we saw earlier. So you got all this was put in afterwards, right? This here.
Oh yeah.
See, you can see it from here.
Problem. I said this on the other stream. You know, the asphalt. Look at this asphalt here, how it's gathering moisture.
Yeah.
You should keep it as a roof garden.
Yeah.
There's so much wet.
Absolutely. Grow some rhubarb. Is it open? Oh yeah, it's open. Yeah.
So this is ironmongery from the Victorian times.
Definitely.
So they put this in to get themselves onto these new walkways, external doors and what have you.
Yeah.
What's ugly back there?
The doors were already there, and what they've done is they fitted them to that to make use of the entrances in the buildings.
No, I don't think they would have been windows. Possibly, I think these are add-on sections to make this building bigger because they lost so much. But those doors, those doors would have been put in by the Victorians. There would have been no need for any door here. I don't think they did fire escapes and that sort of thing in that time.
I doubt it very much. Well, nothing caught fire, did it?
But, I mean, pre the Victorians, they wouldn't have done anything.
No.
But this, I think, was to give access to some of these spaces back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
What about down here? Oh, that goes deep too. Can you get your camera? Can you get up and get your camera down there? Because that's really deep. We'll just put it through the bars.
I'll hold it over the top and make sure I don't drop it. So I don't know if anybody can see that, but I'm holding it down there.
It's really deep down there. Again, I would suggest that it's in total 3 stories possibly.
I mean, it's so deep. Everything is so deep.
2, yeah.
Even over there. But yeah, it's so deep. And yes, we're on the side of hills and stuff. And yeah, if you're building up the side of a hill and you're going up, then you're going to have depth to your buildings. I get all that.
Yeah.
But a lot of these buildings weren't dug into. It doesn't look like they were just simply dug into the side of the hill necessarily. Right? Because you see bricked up windows that are below surface level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you see bricked up windows below surface level, then the surface level came after they bricked the windows up.
Yeah. Yes. Well, can you imagine having to lay your bricks in for 10 feet down,
right,
and then come with dirt and fill in the outside wall?
Yeah.
You know, that's essentially, look here, you know, essentially what we see with some buildings is that all of this area up to for about 8 foot or 10 foot is still in dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that you've come back here, you've finished your works, and then the foreman says, right, now you've got to fill this back in again. You'd be like, wait, hold on, we had to build a retaining wall to hold this wall away while we were building. Yeah. Now we're just going to let it all cave back in on our building?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think the foreman would have probably got a word or two from his staff for that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think about the settling, you know, like snow.
Yeah.
Settling like snow, because a mud flood that comes in, like, you know, like a tsunami,
yeah,
would not have the same evenness of spread.
No, no.
It would be more like the front buildings got much more hit than the back buildings.
And some of it would stack itself up or back itself up in areas if there was particularly large buildings in the way on a hill.
Yeah, on a hill you get snow, it'll settle there.
Right.
But the water would just run down the hill.
Yes, and snow, it would take an avalanche.
Yeah.
Because the weight wouldn't hold itself.
Yeah.
Right, that could happen, but you know, so this is a path. I mean, it's just like what Dave was saying earlier. The work, the amount of bricks everywhere you look, it's just bricks. But it's like whoever owned the brick factories, the local ones, whatever they were, as in the ones that managed to supply this amount of bricks, they must have made a mint. They must have made a mint, mate.
Well, I don't know how they did it.
I don't know how they did it.
Needed massive work. So
Well,
of course, there's plenty of land that we don't have to get to see, or you know, also time scales. We don't know that there wasn't 100 or 200 years, that 500 years that this whole section of Earth plane was kept off limits,
right,
by the Antarctic Treaty or a similar sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then during that time, reparation works are undertaken.
Yeah, and while they're doing that, you had 26 million people visiting the San Francisco exhibition in the space of 6 months.
Wow.
Yet no one had no one had cars, no one had tickets for trains. But everybody, you know, how does that work?
Yeah.
Anyway, so and the reason why I said that was because you can keep people busy with other things while you're getting up to mischief elsewhere. That's why. So,
yeah,
you know.
Would you look at that?
Oh, look.
Isn't that pretty?
Lovely. Lovely. Before and after, as it were. Nice.
Is there a cannon that just went off?
Don't know.
This building, of course, is also affected. You know, now here's this doorway in, but it has obviously this lower floor section to it. A lot of the floors are wooden in these buildings on the ground floor.
Sure.
They were much easier to suspend a new wooden floor.
Yeah.
Than anything else. You know, so even these, and here's the interesting thing about places like this: they often they're almshouses, or they used to belong to some wealthy dude who gave them to the Cats charity, or for the homeless wives, or things like that. And so they got a cover story to go with them.
Again, skirting.
But you can see the downstairs.
There we go, so we can see the downstairs. And there's probably stairs going that way as well. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Again, we have this long opening here, big opening. Was that ever made for windows originally? The brickwork wouldn't suggest it was. Yes, I didn't have that on camera, so you're all good. No. But notice the roofs. This is what I was trying to explain, and I couldn't explain it properly when I had a conversation about this. You see these roofs that are like hats on the top of a flat thing. You see it a lot in Germany, for example. You'll have like slope sides like that, and then you'll have that, but they're all made of tile with those windows coming out. Now, I'm on about the style and everything. Look at the chimneys. They look really old, or worn at least, right? Let's say it like that.
I don't know.
That one up there does.
Not as good as it should be.
Right, well, the sides of it, there's bits of brick crumbled away or broken away, right?
Yeah, I noticed that.
But this shape of roof is the one that we saw down at the old fire station that's been burnt.
Yes.
It's one of these.
Yes.
Right. You don't see many of them around anymore.
Oh, in London you see a lot of this.
In London you would, yeah.
Yeah, I used
Here
to.
you don't.
This was something I really caught my eye in the early days.
Yeah. It's not your classic gable shape like that.
No.
Right, which you would normally build in a rainy country.
Yeah. So the pitch roof, well, the flat roof was quite a steep pitch.
Yes. And why would you build flat roofs? And this is something that Ellie and I also spoke about with the water tower, for example. The water tower, when you take a step back from it, it looks like a plinth where you've taken the statue off.
Yeah.
You wouldn't leave building in a country that has rainy climate with flat roofs. It just wouldn't make sense. Just sorry, but it just wouldn't.
I mean, I think if you go too high, maybe you change you change the local height of things that bit more. You change the look of the building, and it looks more obvious. But for me, it was they were gaining themselves some additional floor, so they could have taken away an original roof, or original roofs went away.
Right.
So this building, you can actually probably walk down here.
Yeah.
See how low it goes from below there.
Let's take a look. Well, another quick shout out to everybody still watching.
Wow, look at that.
Thank you very much for sticking with us.
How deep is that?
Look at that. I was just going to break into a Bee Gees song then.
How deep is that? So they've got retaining walls 20 foot high in front of this building. That's what people have to believe.
And see where the bricks change colour?
Yeah.
And you see the steps of those bricks on the outside, they're sticking out. So is that the original construction and they added that on to continue it, or is that all original?
I don't think that's original. It may be. It may be.
This
is. It may be.
Look at the side like that. Is this chimney that we keep talking about? Where chimney's really meant for that originally, right? It's a big wide chimney. How would you heat circulation?
Well,
building like that.
It is possible that the chimney is an 1800s add-on. It's part of Victorian.
Yes, to reuse the fireplaces and then get the smoke out like that. Of course, I get that. Yeah. That there is facading. Obviously, the balconies and everything that you see that's white and glass is all facading. But the other stuff, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that T isn't actually an add-on as well. But
could be.
I have to look at that a little bit more closely and make a judgment.
Could be. But yeah, surrounded, of course, by newer buildings, of course, you can see them there.
It's deep down there, man.
It's deep, mate. It's deep. It really is deep. You go down there. I mean, there's a drop between me and you already. But look at that. And it's... Amazing. That's a lot of building, mate. Again, a lot of bricks, right? Yeah. I keep going on about it, but it's true. Yes, getting back to you. Sorry. Thank you for you all hanging around or hanging out with us. It was pleasant. We've overshot our time. Well, we haven't overshot any time because we never really gave ourselves.
It's probably a good time to say goodbye.
Well, on 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Oh, really?
I mean,
hit the stop button now.
Hit the stop button now. No, I'll end up.
You give people a little outro.
Creating well, my outro, I think I'll do it by flipping the phone round and we'll talk in the screen. Thank you. So that was I'll stand this side because then it's easier for me to hold with. There we go. So that was about 5 hours altogether of, on 2 separate occasions, having a little walk around. But I still feel there's plenty more.
We've barely scratched the surface.
Exactly.
It's a little bit like man's exploration into the so-called crust. We barely scratched the surface. At 8 miles, it's like taking a hair and putting it on the beach of, New York or something like that, and going, that's how far you've traveled across America. One hair. 8 miles out of 4,000 miles is a fragment.
Yes.
It's visiting the beach and saying, oh yeah, it's like seeing the whole country.
The deepest hole ever bored on Earth is supposed to be about 8 miles in Russia.
The Kola Deep.
Kola Deep.
Yes. That's what we're told, anyway.
That's what we're told.
And they got out to bedrock, or they got to some hard rock that they can't get through hard rock. They got to some hard rock they can't get through.
No, so what did they do? They started calling cafes Hard Rock instead, because they knew they were at a loss.
They're in a Hard Rock cafe.
Hard Rock,
and
or a soft place.
And there's this dome that they can't blow out of with so-called atom bombs. And so I was starting to wonder the other day whether they aren't trying, like they were trying to get out the roof for so long. Now they may be trying to get out below. They're trying to find a way to crack through with fracking. Trying to crack a way out of the egg.
Or maybe they're filling our realm with stuff that they wanted to ensure can't escape out of our roof, and that's why they did the roof testing thing first. I think they knew about our realm well in advance. I think what they've done is tested to see then what they can do with us, or whatever, in terms of control. I've turned the camera around, but I can always turn it around again. We're going to have a little look down here. Let me just flip this around quickly. Right, let's have a look at this. Yes, the flipping round switch is right on the camera lens, so that's why it looks like my finger is pointing you in the forehead, but I'm not. I'm just quite literally pressing that function. Right, so we've got this here. These are add-ons here. You can tell that's the concrete. There's your... Well, then again.
It's just got all the usual hallmarks.
It's got all the hallmarks. Of course, you've got this here again. Deep down it goes. Now, there's the building we stood next to a minute ago. We're looking at it from down.
Oh, yeah, we've gotten down.
We've gotten down. So there's the facading we talked about that obviously has been added. But then it's the other stuff, like the windows are quite close to the bricks now. Then there's a brick's depth between the windows and the edge, which I would say is about right.
I'm not sure.
Or would you say the window has to be flush?
I don't say it has to be flush.
No, but would you
say that that's how you build?
Yeah, I would say so.
Doors and things are
because they are on the bottom, aren't they? Look.
Yeah, they're flush down there, but you would, I think, do them flush. Not to say there couldn't be a windowsill, but the window would be flush, because actually you end up, when you add that brick and the brick behind it, you end up with a very thick wall.
Absolutely.
On those buildings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and again, it's like. There's too many of those I've seen.
And here again.
Anyway, we were just saying goodbye.
Well, we were saying goodbye, and just as we were saying goodbye, more people have joined the chat. Isn't that ironic? It's always the way of the world, Dave.
Really?
You say yes when people think you mean no, and you say no when people think you mean no. I'm going to put my shades on, mate. I know I shouldn't wear them, and I've been getting your advice on it and stuff. I remember you telling me.
Sun gazing, yeah, look into it.
I know, sun gazing.
Look into it.
Look into it, very good.
Only in the early morning.
Well,
and late afternoon.
Well, yeah, not at noon. I'll stand this side. It just makes it easier for me to hold. That's all. Right, I'll flip it round again. There we go. So there we have it. So the sun has got its hat on. Hip, 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 hooray.
If you're new to the chat, then go back and look at some of the stuff we've looked at today.
Yeah.
Maybe you can look at it at 1.5 or 1.7 times speed. It'll be quite amusing to see Sven and I dodging around. Oh, look how deep that is. Oh, this is the same. Sorry, I'm on the wrong side.
All good, man. I'm just saying hello to Seth, and I'm saying hello to Voynich as well.
Oh, hey, Voynich. How are you, my friend?
All right, mate.
Have you subbed my other channels? I mean, the Trinities and TRINITY4, the new one.
Yes.
Hard to find, I believe, but...
And if not, if you don't know, then just check my channel. When this is uploaded, I'll have it pinned on the comments. So please subscribe to Dave's channel, because... oh,
look, they're still here.
Because you know it makes sense.
I rode this yesterday.
You did? You did? We walked past it.
Yeah, I rode that 2 days ago.
2 days ago, the earth is flat on the floor.
Yeah.
We spoke about that building over there.
And this one here, the Norfolk Royal, and
yes,
this one here.
we had a chat. We did go through quite a little bit, actually. chimneys on the sides there. Look at the sides of those chimneys in that pink building. It's a massive building. Look at it. Huge. Anyway, you can't see what I'm talking about because I've got the phone tilted around the wrong way. Apologies for that. If I turn my head around like that, you can see it in the background. That pink coloured building there. Yeah.
If we walk, if we happen to walk, we don't have to, but if we had walked down that way,
right,
you'd find this hotel goes over the hill.
Should we do it?
And it gets,
let's go.
We'll
have a walk and a talk. May as well. We've got a couple of more people in and we're walking and talking anyway, so we'll face the camera onto us for the moment. I think people may have been sick of looking at buildings for the moment. They might not even mind seeing our faces for 2 minutes, and then I can flip it back round and we can look at bricks again. But here's the building we were talking about yesterday. We'll do that another time though. Well, we did look at it a little bit.
We looked at it quite hard.
We did actually look at it quite hard.
We come around the back.
This time? Yes.
Last time. So here we are. And look, there's a deep crevice right in front of us.
I'm going to flip the camera around and then you'll see what we're on about.
Please do that.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
So there we have already. That clearly will go all the way. That goes nicely underneath there. So where the pink becomes white, as it were, on the facade. And you see on the right hand side there, this bit here, it doesn't look like brickwork at all. But then when you go closer examination, there it is. You can see where it's come off. You can see right to the right of that pipe. Brickwork, clearly. Yes, they've concreted some bits because they created these levels. Right, if you look at here, same thing. On the left there, that beige bit that goes down into the ground that I'm pointing the camera at right now, it's all brickwork. And below that, bottom there, all brickwork.
That guy just believes the usual flab of, yeah, well, that's just, you know, it's an old place. Well, so because it's old means it gets dug into the ground?
Right.
Absolutely, there's a lift that'll go down.
Yeah.
There's more downstairs. Look at these lovely, who would love to rent a suite here with lovely staircase views?
Yeah, views of the staircase, look at that.
Views of the staircase.
Wouldn't you love? In fact, and you can have our upgraded view of the staircase by having the view of the wall next to the staircase. How about that?
Garden here, which is obviously an extra £50 a night.
It's an extra £50 a night too, even if you wanted to open your window and throw something out to make a noise on this grid. I don't know what that's all for here. It's to prevent people climbing over.
I'm going to suggest to you that that's 8 meters. When we get to down there, over there, that's 8 meters. But that's a big air conditioning unit standing down there, at least 6 meters below that. So it's about 8 meters. What's that in American? That's 25.
8 meters? Yeah, 25. 25, what is it? 2.5 centimeters per inch, right?
We don't need to work it out for them. I'm sure they can...
oh, no, I'm thinking out loud. I'm just thinking out loud. Oh, yeah. Okay. I won't work it out for anybody.
Let's look down here. This is all being concreted in. There's a floor
here.
So there's obviously another floor beneath that.
Yes.
With that section there, it's deeper.
Yes.
By some measure.
Yes. Yeah. So this bit here, the section to the left, that's what Dave's on about. That there, to the left where those cooling systems are. That there, to the left where those cooling systems are, underneath the grid. That's deeper than this section on the right where it's got concreted floor. So it goes clearly far, far deeper in the ground.
Unfortunately, due to cutbacks, we've had to close off all these windows on this side of the hotel. You'll notice that because it's a very old hotel, we didn't realise that we wouldn't really want windows on this face of the wall.
Isn't that hilarious? Look at that.
Close them off.
So we decided to close off all your windows in your hotel because what do you need?
For your own safety. That way germs can't get into your bedroom at night.
Absolutely. If I messed the picture up there a little bit, I do apologise. Yeah, look at that. They've filled them all in. The art is to use them all as picture frames. Do some nice paintings in them. I would. Anyway, there we go. Lovely. And then that takes us round to a church, but we're...
I think we actually did that one.
I think we did. We just didn't come up this road.
Yeah. Anyway, but Voynach's still there. Tell him I'm getting back in the saddle. He'll see me on the streets again soon.
There's, again, it's been held, the spire, with things on the side, but they're different ones this time. See that?
Yes.
On the side, like the other one had the arches.
Or you guys who are watching, sorry, I shouldn't speak.
No, that's all right.
I think that this is a concrete cladding that is hiding the true device behind it. Or it's just the whole spire is a facade from the 1800s, but 1700s. But I don't subscribe to that idea too strongly.
And there's the top of the town hall in the distance there with the flag in the background above the trees. Again,
this is going to be interesting. Look, no, take account of our street level. It's sunk down, and in this first bit it's sunk down a bit, but as we go over that wall over there, or as we go over this wall over here, we'll find that there's another 5-10 foot. Let's go.
right? Yeah, good mate, thanks.
It says 1953. Right. It says 1953, but I doubt that very much.
1953.
Just on that stone there.
Oh, right.
Which might be, I think this is an add-on, this whole section.
Right. 1953. Wow. 20 years before I was born. Not that that matters. But those windows...
Yeah, so again...
Hard to say, isn't it? But we can kind of see that well, it must do. It goes far, far deeper into ground, right? We can see that.
Possibly,
They'll have a crypt in there. They'll have something. I mean, look at the ground level in there. That looks like benches. So it goes deeper.
Down.
Yeah, it goes deeper down. You can see behind the window.
Exactly.
So you got this
retaining wall.
Retaining wall.
Again, no one worries about the expenditure and the effort. Oh, there he is. The guy. He's gone all the way down there to that lower level. So you're creating this whole sub-church. And then what you end up with is a fairly insignificant vaulted ceiling in a much smaller, less grand establishment.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, of course, they were never churches when they were built. Right? That's their modern interpretation.
That's the point, isn't it? So
they were charges, my friend. I think they were church.
Well,
charged. Let's go get charged. All right, church. Oh look.
He wants to turn in here, so let's get out of his way. Yeah, it is fascinating stuff. Really is. I mean, insufficient word to use to describe this. Really fascinating, but you know what I mean.
Look at that classroom over there. Also at street height, actually, almost just below street height in that space.
Yeah.
Again, this makes no sense.
So, I think we should. Oh, Bournemouth School of English, right? Well, we haven't. Did we see? This is the one I said from a distance looked like an Italian one because
it's missing the spire.
Right, it's missing the spire, and that's what I was mentioning yesterday.
Yeah,
it's the one you couldn't see from the town hall.
Town hall.
But look at the other spires that are on it.
Yeah,
you got 3 spires at the back, but you got this missing a spire. Or was it missing a spire? But I'm presuming there was a spire on that, as every other feature is spire type.
Yeah,
isn't
it? Yeah, they'll have a story as to why they decided not to bother.
It may have burnt.
Yeah.
You know, the monk may have burnt his cloak while he was pulling on the bells.
Well, I suggest there was this idea that if some of them didn't survive, or you know, the troglodytes. Remember, they were called the people who went around and smashed up all the equipment. That's an interesting story, isn't it?
It is.
There's that whole story of those people who went around and broke up all the equipment. What they call them, the Luddites, no? Those people that wanted to smash up all the Industrial Revolution. Well, that's them covering the story of them smashing the shit up.
Right.
And then just look at this beautiful arch here, and then the door beneath is so insignificant. The door there is so hidden. Oh man.
But Dave, isn't that where you would put a door?
I would point out the ribbing on that spire. See that ribbing itself, if you just focus on the herringbone ribbing, then I think that in itself could be an important element of the device.
So we're talking about that metal. It's okay, no problem at all. So we're talking about the metal spire of the three, right? The one in the middle.
Yeah, the big one.
The big one.
Yeah, with the crucifix on.
I'd like to go up there. Clearly, you can walk up there.
Ah.
There seems to be a balcony you can walk around.
Yeah.
Not now. I would like to go up there, but
I wonder if you could see further around Bournemouth from up there than down here. I wonder if you could see further around Bournemouth from up there than down here. I would say yes, we could see further because we have a much higher angle of resolution.
we do.
And our perspective is improved.
That's right. It's exactly. Oh, do you have my lighter, please, Dave? That I gave you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is St. Stephen's Church in Bournemouth. It's a very interesting church because, like I said a couple of days ago, it has that, well, it just looks like there's something missing from it. And, you know, it's clearly, I personally think, I do believe that the spire's missing on there. That's been disassembled. And, you know, you can see that, the evidence of that, I would say, or the conclusion I would draw is, well, there's spires everywhere else, apart from the main part where you would expect one.
Yeah, so where's it? Winchester, they don't have one either. Is it Winchester? I think so.
Yeah, Winchester they don't have one.
And I met this lady, Andrew and I met this lady one time when we were visiting it. She was the ex-vicar's, the guy who was the bishop of the city.
Yeah.
Wife.
Yeah.
And she was visiting his headstone because he had a special headstone there. And she had a story. She had a story as to why, a legitimate story, and totally, you know, I wasn't going to try and change her mind. You know, she was visiting her husband's gravestone.
Yeah.
Well, who wrote this on the road?
Oh my God, they're up to it again, aren't they? Whoever, again, people with too much.
Water levels thing.
I'm not too sure what.
You know, water doesn't level.
Well, it
Yeah, I know
appears
they
to
take
level,
water.
but we're on a ball.
Yeah.
It appears.
Yeah, it's
it only appears.
apparently level.
Only apparently level.
After a long time, it just starts to curve, bend, and so on. You've got surface tension, and then that turns into curvature. Sometimes they call it tides, and then those tides become a ball.
You do it.
Okay.
Right. Yes, they do. Surface tension, absolutely. A classic. Or a meniscus, another classic. Right, so you look at this church here. I mean, there is, where do you start? Well, the first thing that you notice is it's
Well, why do you start the front
heavy.
door?
Yeah.
Oh, which would be that? Hard to tell. Is it that one
Is
or
it
that
that
one?
one? Is
They're
that one?
equally impressive, actually.
They are
or
equally
unimpressive.
impressive. Yeah, they are.
But there's sconces there that would have held
Is
deities.
Is it a building that has an obvious main entrance? No, not really, is it? Because it obviously wasn't used for that in the first place.
No, that doesn't. Well, I mean, no. Maybe it was on the other side. I'm
Let's
not
have a look.
sure, but I think this was obviously much bigger because you'll see where we can go and sit in those sconces. Once angels would have resided.
Well, how many of them? 33.
You know, the 33 turned back to back is the Infinity 8.
It is, and it's also McDonald's.
And here it is right here. Can you see?
Yeah.
The inverted.
And what else do you see? A ship's anchor on its side. So when people talk about the anchor forms, there you have them.
Look, here you go. This is what I mean. A deity.
A deity. Yeah. Now you've got these forms here. Now that all looks, well, it's part of this, but they haven't bricked that up. They just put that in for decorative purposes, isn't they?
Yeah. Well,
It does look like they bricked it at a
question.
later date, does it? I mean, it looks flush. It looks like it was all kind of, you know, if you look at the way it's all built, it seems to be built out of one piece almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Slotted in.
Yeah, it's
Funny one.
Doesn't make sense really. Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense because we can see here it clearly goes down further because we only see half the bricks poking out from beneath the ground there. Right, so it clearly goes deeper down. Obviously, there'll be crypts in there and all sorts.
But this here is interesting. Hey?
It is.
The way that they had to end that there.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Because they didn't have they had to create this form here. I don't know. This one's interesting.
It is interesting because that looks.
Why I put these in here? Why it's unnecessary?
And you look at this here; it looks like perfect. It looks like it fits. Belongs.
Okay. So what if this is part of an original fitment, but they had to create this door out of the original door just simply goes down a lot deeper, or this is a new. This is all done at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah. But again, the crumbling at the bottom there. You know, not great quality.
Well, I'm pretty sure this was a wooden floor. It'll be a new height. This is not the original height. The windows above are much grander than than this floor that we can see here.
Yeah, I would agree.
As you come around here, our floor height is now rising to about 4 foot.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can go around the side.
Well, just climb over the wall. So I shall go around here. Now again, we have one of these entrances, not quite as magnificent, but magnificent nevertheless. Oh, nicer angle of that spire. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. You can see on the ground there how that ground level there is, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you, monsieur.
I'm just gonna have a
Well, you have a ukulele, and I'll have a little wander around here, and I'll make sure I don't flip the camera backwards. So, this is, again, a head scratcher, because, first of all, let's have a look at that spire. Don't know what material that is, I can't see from here really. Well, it's obviously metallic. But interesting nevertheless. And at the top there you've got a crucifix. But below that crucifix you have like, looks like a couple of number 8s made of metal, sort of intertwined, that go into that mechanism, the top of that upside down ice cream cone, if you like. So right at the top, I know you can't see it on the screen properly because it doesn't zoom in very well, my phone, unfortunately. But right at the top you have a crucifix, then below that you have like another cross, but it's like horizontal, so you're looking at it from below like you stood under a cross that's laid horizontally above you, a thin one. And then below that, on the same stem of metal, you have like an intertwining sort of number 8 kind of shape. It seems to be made of metal, and then under that you have something as well made of metal that then goes into the the cone even. Interesting. I'm just describing it because you can't see it properly on there, that's all. That's the reason why I'm describing it. But that's the metal one, and then it's of course flanked by 2 stone spires. The left one, yeah, you can see reveals itself if I take a step back a little bit, and there's one on the other flank, as it were, on the other side of this construction too, which begs the question, why isn't there one on there? Right.
This is a roof tile.
Hey?
This is a roof tile.
That's a roof tile. I'll just minimize this and we'll have a look at this tile. A roof tile.
There you go. It doesn't look that old to me. So it's fallen down here, but looking at that rim, that looks like just a cast tile. It's not particularly old by any means. Got some ridging underneath it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's old. That's certainly not as old as the ones on Letton Hall's roof.
Have you got that lighter, please, sir? Well, I was supposed to...
oh yeah.
If you could do the honours for me so I can then... merci, monsieur. Is there anything around this end that we can see, Dave, that you managed to... What about the window? The rose window. Remember we were talking about... I remember Crystal mentioned sacred geometry when we were addressing the windows, the rose windows, so-called. 3, 6, 9 sets... Well, 9 small circles, 10 when you count the inside circle, 11 when you've got the outside circle. There's 11 circles there in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is
But
beautiful.
I think one church I looked at, it was like I saw a similar kind of. This one was in Winton actually. I saw a similar kind of effect.
Yeah.
But behind that was hidden some other structure that was also a similar shape, but not exactly it. It was like, wow, they've done it twice. No, I think that's what they're hiding. Just behind that is something else. Now, this wall here should actually have a window on it. Every other wall along here has got a window.
On that level, yeah.
On this level, but this one doesn't. Could be good reason for that. Could be, something to do with what's going on inside the church. But I would suggest I'm good.
What about the side? Did we have a look at this? The gable. Right, there's the other spire that I was telling you about. One of two that are on the that flank it. But look at that cross, look at the crucifix. It's attached to something metal that goes in the top of this roof here. That's close to us, right?
Yeah, it's sitting on a metal...
sitting on a metal...
like a mushroom.
Like that is as well. And like that one is...
It's a metal mushroom.
Yeah, it's metal. So I zoom in, there you can see it clearly. See that crucifix? If I move around there, you can see the crucifix made from this angle better. There. From the side, it's on a metal construction that goes into that roof. Right, and that is kind of what you're seeing. See those toroidal things going downwards that are bent downwards on either side of the crucifix below it?
Yeah.
In 4 different directions. So you've got 2 left and right there from my view. And then of course they're left and right from that view as well. Whoops, if I can capture it there. And
Can I point out something while we're here? So you see the main spire, those big windows that are filled in.
Yeah.
They're filled in with a concrete form that is much newer than the roof. They're almost like they try to cover the holes up. I know sometimes they've got slats in them, other sorts of things.
Like that one has.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Like that one there has the slats. There's the slats in the windows, the long forms in the one without the spire on top, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one Dave's on about with no slats, but same
they
shape.
use the concrete form to fill that in. And then if you notice the forms, they're like these flowers that are almost like the atomic diagram, because they are hiding the triple torus within them. If you cast your eyes around the outside, left and right, you're actually creating the inverted 3s. And then within that, there's the 6 and the 9 playing. That's the TRINITY4 system. They're showing us that. Well, they revered it.
Well, interesting. I keep saying that word, don't I? And they're calling me interesting Sven. Not because I'm interesting, because I keep saying it.
The house here will be partially submerged over here.
Yeah. And there, to see how low we are, there's a bridge going over with the traffic over it. And if you went on there, you'd be at ground level.
Yeah, you get back to another ground level.
Yeah. Hello, mate. You are?
Yeah, we're part of the Church of Humanity, or Humankind.
No,
we're interested in architecture, particularly this kind. We're more specifically, I've been around a lot of cities in the world where
I'm presuming that's somebody who's part of the church setup. Yeah, people are very quick to ask what you're doing and all that sort of stuff, which is fair enough if you're encroaching on their property, but are you part of the church? Interesting question. Are we not allowed to walk around here if you're not part of a church? Oh, here's an interesting fact for you. In Germany, for example, just while Dave's chatting away with that gentleman, in Germany, for example, everybody automatically pays what they call Kirchensteuer, which is church tax. But a lot of people have decided to no longer pay the church tax. Germany is predominantly a Catholic country, although there are some non-Catholic states, like Hamburg, for example. Right? So, when you then decide not to pay your church tax, that means you're not allowed to marry, if you wanted to marry, in a church. You're not allowed to have your kids christened, if that's your thing, and you're not allowed to use church services, full stop. So people are still gone ahead with it in Germany. And that's why you'll see a lot of churches hardly ever get used anymore, because that is actually, certainly when I used to live there, that was a bit of an issue. It also prevented people from actually marrying outright and all that. And I'm just wondering whether that was a ploy. You know, who knows? Could be just another rabbit hole, but just quite interesting. Yeah, so when we talk about, do you belong to this church, like this guy here was asking, like, well, what does that matter? What does that matter whether I belong to this parish or not? If somebody could maybe answer me that question, then I'd be very happy. Yeah. So fascinating it is. You can go on and on and on with this topic, really. I think we're going to end this stream now after this, because it's now over 3 hours. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful day for it. It really is. Nice weather. We've been lucky today. But yeah, plenty to see everywhere once we know what we're looking for.
Plays into the research idea.
So we have another building in the background there that I think is far newer, but it's been made to look old. So if I can zoom in on that, you might be able to see it. I hope my finger wasn't in the way there. See that there, that building there? And in that building there, you have 2 little towers on it, as you can see, one to the left, one to the right. Green, but they don't look green as in like a copper tower would turn green with time. They look, those 2 towers on there, they look actually painted green, and the little balls on their little poles on the top of them, the conductors if you like, they are just standard metal chrome balls. They look absolutely decorative. And the rest of the building is far, far new. You can just see it even from a distance. It looks quite clean and tidy and new and everything. It's almost the kind of building I would expect to find in a country like Germany or France. You know, very interesting. There we go. That's just from a distance anyway. I'll try and minimize my picture again. There we go.
Somehow it gets covered.
So you have a lot of this that we were talking about earlier. I'm going to just start recapping a little bit. So what you can notice most definitely when you look at this more closely is that not only, you know, is the constructing of these buildings an impossibility in terms of what we're told timeline wise, because of the sheer materials that you'd have to use in conjunction with the manpower needed and all the rest of it, blah blah blah, right? We know all that. But then when you start seeing the efforts that have been made to conceal that, and then also mess around with the dates with that concealment, is also very, very revealing, I think. Right? So it's layers, isn't it? It's layers upon layers upon layers. And it would take a while to dig through all those layers, as it were, and peel back those onion layers and kind of get to at least a resemblance of accuracy when it comes to the origins of these buildings, or at least putting to bed once and for all the mainstream narrative on them, you know. But yeah, it never ceases to amaze me. Dave's just having a conversation with that chap who came out before. Yeah, So there we have it. St. Stephen's Church. Interesting building. As are they all. So what I'm going to say now is also, I can say that now before I forget, that Dave, TRINITY4, will be joining Ellie and I on our Where It's At podcast this Sunday. So we will be resuming that. It will be 1800 hours UK time. We gave it we had a couple of weeks break, but we didn't take a break from it. It was just that circumstances didn't allow for us to give our time to that. It's just the way it is. Sometimes other things happen, get in the way, occupy our time and minds and things like that, and that's how it is. But we're going to do a podcast on this Sunday at 6 o'clock with Dave Mannell, TRINITY4, and discuss these 2 streams that we've done. You know, and also coming to the realization that we're only scratching the surface here. We really, really are. There's so much more to this, you know. But we want to then talk a little bit about that on Sunday. I mean, you've heard us both waffling for a long time now, over 5 hours worth. But we'll do it in a different sort of setting, with Ellie sort of supporting us with some pictures and some video footage in the background. And just do a decent, good, concise recap on what we've done. And also our theories. And also plans with a small p on what we want to do in the future, because we're sticking to what we said, which is that we want to eventually get, you know, regularly some people on board. You know, Dave has been on board now on a few occasions, and he will remain so. You know, whenever he has the time, he will gladly partake. He's got a lot of knowledge around it. And there will be others as well, Ellie, of course, and a few others, a couple of friends of mine from this area, who will then add to that. And we'll hopefully have a nice library together and a good body of work that will help us then eventually get our minds around it all and start deciphering it a little bit. At the moment, I think it's just all about information gathering and all that sort of stuff on my part anyway. Documenting and also kind of digesting it all and taking it all in, really, more than anything else. Because though I have looked at this topic before in the past, of course I have, and I know many people who have. But it's a different thing when you're looking at it to these depths, in terms of really spending a lot of time going out there, walking around, getting a sense of the distance between these buildings as well, and a sense of the logistics, like I keep saying. How would they have transported any of that material before any of these roads were ever built, or before cars were ever around, and all that sort of stuff, right? So much to kind of figure out that doesn't make sense, you know. Even here for the Bournemouth area, for example, there's a distinct lack of photographic evidence, for example, for a lot of constructions. You know, anybody who wants to Google this region, Google it and have a look on Google Maps where Bournemouth is and this whole region. And there's a coastline up the road called the Jurassic Coast and stuff like that. But if you look at it, where these towns and cities are built, the constructions that are around here, like the lighthouse in the Isle of Wight, which is only a stone's throw away, really, from here. But all these things that have been built in the past, and first of all you think to yourself, how do you build that there in those sort of locations? How do you do that in a time we're told? Who did it? What was the purpose of it? And all that sort of thing, right? But Bournemouth or this area, this region is quite interesting, because you know, it wasn't a very densely populated area at all by any stretch, even for those days, if you want to believe the history books, right? Remember, the end of the 1800s, just Boscombe alone and Folkestone, 2 little boroughs outside of Bournemouth, or in part of Bournemouth, but on the edges, had a population that didn't even reach 800 people. Yet they're building constructions where you can fit so many more people than that in, and do things that they wouldn't have seen as a priority in days where they had to make sure that they could live and survive. right? So, you know, the mid 1800s, before electricity, running water, etc., right? These are the times we're talking about. Yeah. It doesn't jive. We know it doesn't jive. And the looking into it is a great thing to do, I think, if you've got the time to do it, of course, which at the moment I have. So there we have it.
People do ask us that, and you know, it is strange or unusual for people
Yeah, so much more to see here. And of course you've got the neighbouring towns like Christchurch and Poole, and I've looked at one thing in Christchurch, one or two little things. That was the Priory, and of course Ellie and I looked at one or two things in Poole, which was the water tower and the church with a very long-winded title. I've forgotten now what it was called. But again, in these towns, many more things to be seen and found. You know, many more things. And it leads you to that realization that, honestly, without the notion of us having inherited this stuff, it's very difficult to come to any other conclusion. It just is. And of course that can lead to quite interesting conversations when you stood around a church ground and you're looking at a church building through totally different lenses to those who, of course, use the services provided in this building, right? Yeah. Like the lady said earlier, who Dave started chatting to, yeah, she said, "Oh no, never really noticed." And that's often the way, isn't it? Didn't even notice. You know, I said it before and I say it again. You know, as a kid, I used to use the cross-channel ferries a lot, going between France and Germany, France and England, or Holland and England, for example, or Netherlands and England, right? And often we'd see the White Cliffs of Dover from the coast in Calais. Nobody thought of thinking about the curvature of the Earth and thinking, well, hang on a minute, there should be an element of curvature on a distance of 20 plus miles, right? No, we always put it down to nice weather being the reason why you could see the White Cliffs on the other side of that stretch of water. And that's the point I'm making about looking at things from not a correct necessarily perspective, but from a different perspective, right? Who thinks of that? So until you start thinking, and it happened to me many years later, you come across the information that, oh yeah, the sphere ball is supposed to be such and such a size. You think, well, hang on a minute, yeah, okay, there must be a calculation for that. There is, not necessarily accurate, but it's certainly, it's certainly much more accurate and closer to the truth than what we're told. Then you realise, oh my God, yeah, it's not because of the nice weather, it's because, you know, the ground that was stood on, apart from valleys and hills and all that, of course, that's the lay of the land, but the actual, you know, structure that we live on, our terra firma, is not a spinning water rock hurtling through an ever-expanding vacuum of space. But it sometimes takes one or two things to just make it go click. And that's what's happened to me with these old buildings. Just to call on that, for want of a better word, you know, they all have a story to tell. Somebody built them. Right? And that's the thing. And so that's where I find the fascination. And of course, the more, you know, awe-inspiring the buildings look, the more sort of, in awe you feel about it when you take a closer look at them, or take a step back and just think to yourself, they put all that work in, why? What were they achieving? They didn't. If they had the technology to do this, then they would have had the technology to do it simpler, right? So why go through these lengths unless this was simple for them? And we are just unaware of the technology they had because it's been hidden from us, just like the free energy and all the rest of it. So yeah, a lot of deciphering to do, but we're certainly on the right track. That's how we knew we were here. CCTV in operation. There you go. Big Brother is watching you. Cameras everywhere in this country. Well, when I say everywhere, that's not quite true. I don't have any in my shoes, for example. But, yeah. No, when you go for walks or whatever, you see cameras pretty much, yeah, all over the place. It's crazy. Again, another thing that people just let happen for their own protection, for their own benefit. People are all right with being filmed 24/7. And they're all right for being questioned for filming themselves, and they'll put their phones away and stop filming. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? Come on, you're being filmed all day, you can film back. Kind of attitude, right? But nobody seems to bat an eyelid, they just go along with it. Like, they go along with these narratives about these buildings. They go along with certain narratives that you hear constantly through the TV and your radio about how to behave on a daily basis, what to do, this, that, and the other, what to believe in, you know. Blue and yellow is now the colour, and all this sort of stuff. It's constant bombarding of the soul. But that would venture off into a totally, well, not a totally different story, but a much deeper one. Yeah, makes you think, makes you ponder. Most definitely nourishment for thought, no doubt about that. All of it is. Yeah, and there you see it. There's the constructions that we're capable of. That overpass there where the cars are driving over. That's how we build things. Big concrete, horrific concrete blocks, prefabricated in a factory somewhere, transported in the pitch dark of night where the roads are nice and empty on low loaders, and then they're slotted into place, and then, hey presto, you have a bridge. We do not build them using this sort of methodology, right? You know, or the way aqueducts, for example, can be found. You know, we don't do that anymore. We just don't. Since the 50s, 60s, motorway bridges, whatever, it's all big concrete slabs and concrete chunks and concrete segments and sections. That's how it's done. But yeah. So, you know, just seeing the contrast of the buildings and the infrastructure we have and produce today for ourselves with ever-growing technology shows you, A, what we're capable of, and B, the necessity for whatever, you know. These things here would have been, well, do you imagine financing a building like that today? Just a building like this here. Just financing it. You know, you can't even get a flat for under £650 or whatever a month before electricity, plus your council tax, right? And you might be lucky if you get, like, I don't know, a second room with your main bedroom area, maybe a kitchen niche in the corner, right? Takes up hardly any space, and you're paying that money here in Bournemouth. So what would it cost you to build a monstrosity like that with all the land you'd need, all the materials you'd need, all the people you'd need, the know-how, the plans, the planning, the transportation networks that were required, you know, the quarrying of all this material, all that sort of stuff. I know I kept on repeating myself there a little bit, but it's stuff that, you know, has to keep going through your mind all the time, because, well, it shouldn't keep you awake at night, like, but, you know, it's just mind-boggling, really. Mind-boggling. But it's a beautiful construction, isn't it? Very nice. Very, very nice. Right, I'm going to go and see if Dave's ready, because he's had a conversation with the chap there. And then we shall sign off. as it were.
To reduce our some even say that the pandemic was partly to kind of clear out some of the old age homes. The only slightly less was in the older It wasn't like off the charts pandemic, but it was
Getting attacked by midges. Yeah, the ground is actually quite moist as well. And yet another siren. It's about the 5th or 6th one.
They can never really address the root cause, because the root cause is probably more an energetic, because it's all energetic. Taurus is an energetic knot that's gotten stuck when you were 5 years old, and that knot has been held in your system, and by the time you're 50, because you do this as well as that, those three factors together will give you that.
Dave, I'm just going to sign off with the folks. I wanted to do it with you together, so.
It's been nice talking to you. Good luck, man. TRINITY4. Cheers.
See you later, mate. Take care. I wasn't.
Have you not finished?
No, not yet.
Oh my gosh, you guys, sorry, I was just talking to Luke.
Well,
there.
this is the
What a
third
nice
time,
guy.
Dave. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, and being all.
He
No,
was challenging us initially while we were here.
I mean, was he funny about it? Sorry, I'll just go this side.
He was like, he apologized to me. I said, I hope I wasn't too rude to you at the beginning there, but I do have a lot of drug users and stuff like that come around the back of the church here and do various things. He's got a 10-year-old boy upstairs who's got a window overlooking this area.
Well, they got CCTV there.
All sorts of, well, that's just for gathering porn. Yeah, because all sorts of seedy things go on around the back here.
They go on all over the place, not just around the back here.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's
probably a bit of glue sniffing.
That's his territory, to be fair. But we had a great conversation, and he's super, I think, super interested in what I just shared with him about mud flood. I didn't mention flat water.
No.
By the way, but I try not to kind of, because sometimes once you've got someone's attention with, say, mud flood, then you hit them with leveled water. It's like, no, you're drowning me now, man.
Literally.
That's just too much.
Yeah, it is. And we have to be mindful of that, because for us it isn't too much, because we've had the time to digest it and work with it. But for someone else, if it's all in one go.
We finish right here.
Well, we could finish right here.
What a great backdrop.
A lovely backdrop.
A tiny door, not as big as the ones you find in Italy. Do you remember that?
I wasn't in Italy with you guys.
Oh,
I joined you in Frankfurt
that's nice.
that evening.
How can I forget? You were late that night.
We were. Well, I missed my flight, didn't I? Originally.
I had to do activism pretty much on my own in
Jason.
Frankfurt, I think.
Yeah.
Until you guys ambushed me.
Well, we started shouting, didn't we, on the way to you, like saying there's some flat earthers in town or whatever, and then a couple of you were looking a little bit anxious, and then actually we were very late that day. Yeah, we travelled by car, didn't we? I originally was flying over to meet you, and then EasyJet played silly buggers with me, didn't allow me on the flight, and then we drove
You
over.
were late for the airport, I think, isn't that the story?
No, but I had 40 minutes. They could have let me on, but they didn't. They decided that 40 minutes wasn't enough time, and I was like, what?
I missed the Eurostar once on night because I didn't think they needed much time.
Listen, I've been in planes where they've waited 10 minutes for passengers. Never mind, you've got 40 minutes to board.
Well, it can end up being 10 minutes, but because they don't want to take your bags off. Then we found them. They're going to be 5 minutes, and then they finally get on.
No, I went to Gatwick, and I got to EasyJet on time, but they sent me across this big waiting hall or whatever, and by the time I got there, the woman wasn't prepared to check the bags in and all that sort of stuff.
I was reminiscing about the time we flew to South Africa last year during the lockdown. Terminal 5, empty. There was honestly, you could look around the whole Terminal 5, and there was maybe 2-3 people all the way off in the distance there, but it was empty. It was so weird to be flying at that time.
I bet. Eerie.
Yeah, and then of course we were stuck that we couldn't come back. Well, there was those quarantine hotels, and it was like, no way are we doing 10 days in a quarantine hotel, man.
Eerie, a bit like those photographs with the magnificent buildings and then one horse and cart on the front.
Yeah.
Nobody on the street.
Yeah.
You know, you wonder what was going on there where there's nobody walking around on the street.
Because there was no one there.
Either there was no one there or
there was no one there. They hadn't grown us yet. It's a fascinating conundrum. I don't have the answer to that.
It is. It is a conundrum, and when you see things like the whole baby incubator thing, I'm thinking, is that a red herring? Is that something thrown in there to throw us off?
I don't get too excited.
I don't
about
either.
Those, to be honest.
Neither do I.
I mean, it's an interesting clue, but it's not enough to say this is how they.
It's not a giveaway to say that's how our civilization started or anything like that.
But the 1820 settlers went out to England, South Africa. Sorry, they called it 1820 settlers because they went out apparently in 1820. And
in their wooden boats.
We're told the story about how they were going to join other people out there, but they may well have been the first seeds that were laid in that area. And of course, the other countries like Holland and so on, they also turn up there. So the architecture that is there, they put that down, a lot of that down to the Dutch. But again, the gables and all that sort of stuff.
And that was while the Dutch were busy fighting the Brits as well.
Yeah.
You know, they had their hands full and still had time to build all those. Like I said about these, we had all the time to build all these marvellous constructions, yet the men were going off to war, joining regiments, earning breadcrumbs so that their families could survive. You know, you were all peasants. There was no industrialisation. Everyone was agricultural. So, you know, they could barely maybe make these doors. Yeah, I'd buy that. I'd buy that, and maybe a good mason would actually form a nice bit of sculpture out of a rock. But to build constructions out of that,
so much work.
Too much work, far too much for its day anyway, for what we're told. But anyway, so we're going to wrap up. It is 3 minutes and 31 into
just
live
go for
stream
another
number
2 minutes. Go for another 2 minutes and then we'll close it off.
So we'll go for another 2 minutes so we can end it on a nice
all those
befitting number, all those threes, man.
Trinities.
Maybe we can end it on 333333.
Oh.
Wow.
Go for it. I mean, it's a little hard to time it, right? Because when you push the quit button, it doesn't immediately quit.
No, it doesn't.
It rolls for a few more seconds, so, you know, it'd be good to get tongues writing. But it is threes. It is the triple torus, and the three is like the. If you do this with the three, it's like the top of the heart shape, you know. So it's the heart is the three, I think. The heart is the center.
Well, it's boom boom, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that frequency.
But there's a head, like a tree. You know, like a tree has a canopy and a trunk and roots. You know, we have those the trinity of those, and the heart is in the trunk. You know, you need to keep your head not too left and right. Your trunk in good order, your heart in good shape, and your roots. Well, that's your founding, and that's where we kind of the soil that we pot in from young. You know, and all the sort of niggles and wiggles that have caused the roots maybe to be weaker than they should be. This is where I think people need to be balanced. Hey, so I'm not saying how much one person might be left or right, or up or down, but coming into center, into the bark, into the trunk, the arc, the bark, the spark, is where the heart is. The wood of the heart of the wood, heart of you. And that's got to be in balance if you are going to alchemize this and not get carried away.
Your own personal molten core.
Yeah, get carried away in the lie, you know. It's great that we're finding this stuff, but I'm not vexated. I'm not frustrated. You know, I'm just trying to be in equanimity with it, you know, and not concerned.
And on that note,
on that bombshell,
we will wish you all farewell. See all of you soon. Some of you sooner. Ta-ta for now. Thanks for joining us.
And so, okay, you're done.